Call the meeting of the San Juan Unified School District Board of Education to order. There is one closed session item on tonight's agenda. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Section D, subsection 1. Name of case, Magali Kincaid, Benito Juarez Neighborhood Association, Neighborhood Elections Now, Juan Iniguez, Carolina Flores, Damaris Canton versus San Juan Unified School District, complaint for violation of the California Voting Rights Act, and in the alternative for violation of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the California Constitution. Sacramento Superior Court case number 34, 2020, 00286475. Mr. Allen, will you please give instructions to those in attendance via Zoom on how they can raise their hand if they have a comment on the closed session agenda item?
I'd be happy to, President Villescaz. If you've joined us on the Zoom call tonight and you would like to offer a comment on this closed session agenda, now would be your opportunity to do so by clicking that raise hand button located at the bottom of your screen, whether you're on a desktop or a mobile device, or if you've called into the Zoom meeting, *9 on your telephone keypad will allow you to hit that raise hand button.
Mr. Allen, do we have any public comment for closed session at this time?
We do not have any raised hands at the moment. And if you give me one moment, I will double check our form. We have not had any submitted comments, and we do have one raised hand at this time, President Villescaz.
Okay, I would like to remind the public that comments are limited to 2 minutes per speaker, and the clock on the screen will count down the time. Mr. Allen, I'll turn it to you to call on our public commenter, as I cannot see the raised hands.
Absolutely, President Villescaz. Our first comment will be from Scott Rafferty. Mr. Rafferty, when you are ready, sir.
Good evening. I've written you. I think you need to resolve this case, and I've set forth in today's letter exactly what happens next. You need to answer this complaint, and I think you need to confront that you're not getting rid of this lawsuit. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment, Mr. Rafferty. And that was our final raised hand, President Villescaz.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen. We'll now move into closed session, and we will return to open session at 6:30.
The board has moved into closed session. You are welcome to stay on the Zoom meeting if you would like, or you can return at 6:30 when we anticipate public session will resume. Thank you.
The meeting of the San Juan Unified School District Board of Education back to order. As you may notice, the board is meeting in the boardroom at the district office, safely, physically distanced, and aligned with state and local guidelines. Public attendance is provided via the Zoom platform, as well as a live stream on the district's YouTube channel. The meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recording may capture sounds and images of those attending this meeting. The recording will be posted on the district's website. We thank you for joining us and ask for your patience as we use this format in an effort to maximize access and participation during this time of physical distancing and other restrictions. At this time, please stand for the virtual presentation of the colors by the Del Campo High School Air Force Junior ROTC.
Ready. Color, Tench, Hut. Gary, colors. Forward, arch. Left, left, left. Colors. Arch. Color guard. Alt. Present. Colors. Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Gary? Gallers? Post? Gallers? Gallers? Gallers' turn. Arch?
Pam Costa, board member. To my left is Ms. Zima Creason, board clerk, and to her left is Mr. Saul Hernandez, board member, and Superintendent Kern is also in attendance. Before we begin, I'd like to review the two methods that are available to submit public comment for tonight's meeting. The first option is to submit a public comment online using the form located on the district website at www.sanjuan.edu/board-meeting. If you wish to submit a public comment on more than one agenda item, please submit a separate form for each item on which you are commenting. Comments received by 6 p.m. today have already been shared with all board members. Comments received after 6 p.m. tonight, including those submitted during the meeting, may be read during the meeting depending on time restrictions. Comments may only be submitted on an agenda item up until the time that agenda item has been discussed. The second option is on the Zoom platform, where you may use the raise your hand feature. When you are called on, you may share a comment via audio during the meeting. Please note that all public comments are subject to a 2-minute limit or approximately 1,500 characters. With that, we are now at item D, approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes for March 9th? It's been moved by Dr. McKibben. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Ms. Creason. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. We are at item E1. Tonight, we have one recognition for Week of the Young Child. Ms. Townsend Snyder, please begin when you are ready. Ms. Townsend, oh, there you go. Thank
Am
you,
I
Jess.
on? Okay, thank you.
Your mic's on now.
I'll start over. Good evening, Board President Biasquez, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. Tonight, we're here to celebrate a wonderful thing with you, Week of the Young Child, which is taking place from April 10th to 16th. We're joined in the audience by a number of staff members who are here to celebrate this wonderful occasion. Lisa Teal, Program Manager, is here to present to you, and she has a little video to share so you can see our sweet kiddos in action. With that, I pass it to Lisa.
Good evening. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share with you our celebration and a little bit more about our division. ECE continues to be dedicated to building a solid foundation for learning and to prepare students and families for school readiness as they enter into the earliest years of learning. This dedication is reflected in our mission and our vision. Tonight, I'm joined by a member of our ECE team in the audience. I want to publicly thank them for all they do every day. Next slide, please. This year in ECE, we serve 3 programs of students. Within our infant toddler program, we serve 5 centers with 80 students who are birth to 3 years old. Also, a part of our infant toddler program is the home-based program, which serves 84 students prenatal to 3 years old. In our preschool programs, we serve 1,056 students 3 to 4 years old. In our Discovery Club, we currently are serving 300 plus school-age students. Next slide, please. In addition to celebrating our kids, in ECE, we are so thrilled to celebrate our passionate and caring educators who continue to go above and beyond San Juan's mission to educate, inspire, and contribute to each student's love for learning. Beverly Stover was nominated Classified Employee of the Year, and Mary Hankus was nominated 2020 Certificated Employee of the Year. Hooray for our amazing ECE staff. Next slide, please. Now let's get to why we're all here. Let's take a peek at the cute faces of ECE to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Week of the Young Child. Play video, please.
A, B, C. Wow, Mosa's working so hard, Leela's working so hard, Ace is working so hard, and Milad is really focusing. Wow. Mama, I made this. How are you feeling today? Happy. Rub your foreheads together and say, You're strong helps you roar like a lion. Roar.
Your voice is so strong, Ahmad. Thank you for joining me and saying bye-bye.
Say bye-bye.
I hope you guys enjoyed that sweet video. It's so nice to see. Thank you. It's so nice to see everyone in action, even during our distance learning time. It's been a huge learning curve, and our staff have done such an amazing job, as you can see in the video. And by recognizing them, we have purchased these backpacks that say the Week of the Young Child with the San Juan label on here. And please contact me if you would like to carry around and be proud and show us off in ECE. I'd be more than happy to equip you with one. I want to thank you for having me here tonight to share about our ECE program and to celebrate our staff and our amazing families that we serve each and every day. Thank you so much for your time. President Vasquez, I'm available to the board should you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I'll invite my colleagues to join me in a round of applause and recognition. And I also just, one clarifying point, Ms. Townsend Snyder and Ms. Teal are both with us here in the room. The rest of our visitors have joined electronically. And we thank you all very much for joining. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to see if any of my colleagues have comments or questions. Do one more round. Oh, Ms. Costa.
I just want to say San Juan has the best early childhood education program anywhere. And thank you to all of the staff for their continuing dedication to our kids throughout the pandemic. So thanks.
Oh, thank you.
I will just echo thanks on behalf of the board to our entire ECE community. Thank you all very much for all that you do. And we're excited to celebrate and recognize this week. With that, is there a motion? Oh,
I thought we were going into.
oh, I apologize. Okay, I'm going to do my 2-time crossing the road check. So I'm going to come back over. Miss Creason.
I apologize. I just want to quickly just acknowledge and say thank you for all you do. My son was part of the ECE program. He went to Ella, and so we know firsthand, the amazing work that staff does and all that goes into building up these little guys, to be the best that they can be. So thank you to everyone that makes it possible.
Oh, thank you.
One last check. Any further comments at this time? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt resolution number A400 proclaiming the week of April 10th through 16th as the week of the young child?
So moved.
It's been moved by Ms. Costa. Is there a second? Seconded by Dr. McKibben. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. That was unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you again. And with that, we are at item E2, High School Student Council reports. Tonight, we will hear from student representatives from Del Campo High School and Mesa Verde High School. Welcome, and let's begin with Kenzie Stokes from Del Campo. Kenzie, apologize if I pronounced your last name right, but please begin when you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good evening, President Velasquez, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. I am Kenzie Stokes, ASB President of Del Campo High School. First off, I wanted to follow up with you on how our Valentine's Day grams went. We got just over 120 submissions when we only anticipated to get about 50. Everyone loved getting something special in the mail from their friends, so it was definitely a good positive thing that we produced. Being in distance learning has made it extremely hard to come up with new ways to show school spirit. COVID has really put a damper on it, which is why we're super excited to go back in person this week. As for sports, Del Campo, things are going great. I've talked to some friends of mine that are in sports, and everyone has given me positive feedback so far. Students are excited to have some normalcy with practices. Sports are starting to have their first games, and kids are super excited to play. On the downside, we aren't allowed to have any fans watch the games. For instance, I play water polo, and my family has to be outside the gate, and football, only immediate family is allowed. Some sports are still the same, but for the most part, fans aren't allowed. We understand that the reasoning is to keep us safe and to keep maintaining social distance, but I feel that a reasonable amount of students should be allowed to see their friends play, and especially go to watch senior night for all sports. We are extremely happy that we get to play because anything is better than nothing, and I think if we follow the safety guidelines, we could make it happen. As we are returning to school this week, students are beyond excited to see their friends. I'm in the Thursday-Friday group, so I haven't had the experience to go back to school yet, but I talked with some friends of mine, and here's what they had to say. The first day was fun, just coming back and seeing everyone was nice, but I wish it was more than just 2 days a week. We don't get to hang out with friends, and we go straight to our classes and then leave. Another student also said, "It is nice seeing people, but we are just there for school. We don't get to spend time with friends or do fun stuff. It's nice being in person, but I don't think it's long enough." Yesterday morning, student government went out before school to hang up posters and play music to invite kids and excite them when they arrive at school. Most students are excited about the return to school, but a lot of teachers, students, parents that I have talked to feel that the schedule is quite confusing and cutting down on our learning time, now that we only have 2 periods a day and no school on Wednesdays. Frankly, it doesn't make sense to me to have such a drastic change in everyone's schedules and routines that are currently working for them, to only go to school 2 days a week for 2 periods for just the last couple months. I feel that it would be better if we could be on campus every day for a short amount of time in 2 different groups. These feelings are not just mine alone, but several of my classmates and teachers as well. I have heard some of the same opinions from many people, but in the end, we're just happy that we are able to come back in person. As for upcoming events, this past week, we have been working on getting a bunch of posters up around school in preparation to welcome everyone back. In student government, we have a lot to think about, as we're going to try to keep as much normalcy as possible. We know that we will not be able to do our normal school spirit events that we typically do in person. Everything's going to look a little different, as we still need to follow the safety precautions, but we're up for the challenge to keep school spirit and to keep kids motivated as we transition to the in-person learning. Right now, we definitely want to do a spirit week, and we're hoping that we get a lot of participation. Since kids have been out of school for so long, we're hoping that they will be eager to show their school spirit. One event we also want to do as soon as possible is a luau. Normally, we do one in the beginning of the year, and students can dress up in tropical outfits and hang out in the quads. We play music, hand out lei necklaces, and have outside summertime games that anyone can play. Because we know it needs to be done in a safe and careful way, and only being at school for 3 hours, it's going to take a lot of brainstorming, but the end result will be worth it if we can pull it off. I think we can all agree that it's been a crazy year, But I believe my student government class and I will continue to do anything we can to make the best out of the situation for our student body and to make the last couple of months of school worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kenzie. We really appreciate you being here with us today. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues for any questions or comments at this time. Dr. McKibben?
Kenzie, I note that you said that you were coming back in cohort B and so forth. I looked at the numbers of the students at Del Campo, and 37% of them said that they were going to stay in virtual learning. Why do you think that is?
I think that virtual learning, some kids like it if they're more isolated, but other kids that like and have a lot of school spirit enjoy going back to school. So I feel like some kids just like rolling out of bed, and going on their Zoom because it seems like the easiest option, but most of our student body misses out on the interaction and hanging out with their friends.
Thank you.
Ms. Preeson.
Thank you for your report, and just want to thank you for your candid report and your thoughtful responses, and applaud your efforts to continue to build school spirit in this incredibly challenging time, and wishing you the best 2 months.
Thank you.
Mr. Hernandez?
Kenzie, I too just want to applaud your attitude. It's been a long year, but it is great to see that we're coming back in some form or fashion. And I actually was at Del Campo the first day of school, so it's good to see people back.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenzie, for your report. We're definitely getting a lot of feedback on the cohort model, so I really appreciate you adding your voice and your experience. We value it significantly, so thanks for that feedback. And I wish you luck Thursday and Friday. I can tell you're really excited.
Yeah.
Forward to hearing how that went. And I'll also, I just wanted to say thank you and really appreciate you being here. And I'll invite my colleagues to join us in a round of applause. Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And next we will hear from Jackie Covey from Mesa Verde.
Good evening, President Velasquez, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. I'm Jacqueline Covey, ASB Vice President and Senior Class President of Mesa Verde High School. I'm honored to be here on behalf of Mesa Verde to speak about our school, the student experience through distance learning, and our plans of action as we transition into hybrid learning. For the majority of the school year, we have been not able to plan in-person events for our students, so we have made a bigger push to connect with our school community through our Instagram at MVHS Connect and Google Classrooms. Through the use of Canva, we have created monthly event banners for teachers to upload into their Google Classrooms so all students can access information about events when they log onto their classes. In January, we revamped our Instagram, now with a color scheme and more cohesion, to make it easier for our students and parents to navigate. We have also given the days of the week themes, such as Mindful Monday, where we share relaxation tips and connect students to mental health resources, our crowd favorite Teacher Tuesday, where we highlight one teacher or staff member each week, Workout Wednesday, where we share ways to keep our bodies healthy, Throwback Thursday, and Fun Friday. In addition to those theme days, in February, we hosted 14 Days of Kindness leading up to Valentine's Day, which was filled with fun polls on our stories, opportunities to share kindness, and fun dress-up days. In March, we hosted a 4-leaf clover challenge where we asked students to hunt for a 4-leaf clover and share a picture of themselves with it. We combined this with our Hydro Flask giveaway to encourage participation. There was a lot of participation from students, so we hope to plan more events like these in the future and intend to keep our social media presence even though we are transitioning back to in-person learning. Now that we are transitioning back, we have more opportunities for hands-on work, and our first order of business is making posters for our senior football players and Spirit Squad members for their senior game on Saturday. We are also in the midst of planning a sports week to honor all sports teams through Spirit Days and posters in the quad, and we are so excited to get back into the groove of things in person. Mesa staff has planned senior drive-through events for us each month as we finish our last term as Mavericks on our road to graduation. Senior shirt pickup and cap and gown information was in February, Award pickup and senior surprise sponsored by BSU and Brown Issues is later this week, and we have our lawn sign pickup in April. ASB is hoping to combine senior sunset and cap and gown pickup in June, which was inspired by a TikTok that was sent in to us. This event will include a DJ and light show, LED foam wands, glow sticks, and more. Seniors and their parents will be able to experience this final event before graduation from the comfort and safety of their vehicles. As a senior, I am very appreciative of these events and anything that helps me connect to school since we are not able to have our traditional senior year events at this point. This year has been crazy to say the least, but we are very thankful to have the opportunity to continue to plan events while following the guidelines, of course, and to still create the connection in our school community. While the remainder of this year is uncertain, we are just beginning to scratch the surface of our plans for festivities. On behalf of Mesa Verde High School, I would like to thank the members of the board for allowing me their time this evening.
Thank you very much for joining us, Jacqueline, and for your report. Turn it to my colleagues for any questions at this time. Dr. McKibben?
Jackie, I'm going to ask the same question I asked before in terms of, are you in one of the cohorted models or are you in the distance model?
I am in cohort B.
Okay. And at Mesa Verde, 31% of the students decided to stay in distance learning. Do you have any speculations on why that number is as it is?
Well, I think the majority of 31% probably has to do with people still wanting to stay at home away from COVID-19 and still having it be a big worry. And I also think, well, I have a younger brother and he has been struggling with school being on Zoom. So I know my sister has chosen to stay at home to help him with homework. So there's probably a lot of families that have chosen to stay home for it to be easier to help younger students in their households. And yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Hernandez.
Jackie, appreciate your report very much. I'm curious of the 14 days of kindness. Can you give us one example that you heard or about of somebody doing something that was kind for somebody else?
Well, we did have a day where we allowed students to post kind quotes on their Instagrams and tag our MVHS Connect on the Instagram. And through that, we were able to share the quotes on so people can read all these inspirational quotes and just for a positive environment on our social media.
Very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Creason.
Hey, Jackie, thank you for your report. And I mean, just listening to you guys are busy. You had some really exciting things. I'm just writing them down and I just stopped because obviously you guys are just doing all the things and I couldn't take up a whole page, but Sunrise DJ Dance Party is just all that. If you need help at all with anything, a volunteer, some glow sticks, holler at me. That's just really, that's really creative. And I really think that's a great idea. Really thought that was a neat idea how you're doing the themed days of the week. I got very excited when you talked about mindfulness Mondays. It's such an important topic, mental health and mindfulness. I just discovered the Calm app myself and I'm a whole new brand new person. And also I just want to I know it wasn't part of your formal report, but just to thank you for your response to Dr. McKibben's question. I think you brought up a really important point that everyone has different reasons for why this is happening. And I thought that was really thoughtful of you to acknowledge that in that way. So thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing with us your report. And I wish you well with your cohort B attendance on Thursday and Friday. I'm confident it'll go well. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for joining us. And again, we'd like to thank you for your reports and for being here tonight. Student voice is very important to the board. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but as you just discussed in your reports, you're very, very busy. So we also understand if you can't. Thank you again for joining us. And with that, we are now at item E3, staff reports. Superintendent Kern.
Thank you, President Villasquez and members of the board. I am going to turn this over to Ms. Basnelli in just a second. I just wanted to announce as items to be discussed in the staff reports, are not specifically identified on the Brown Act or in the board agenda, board members may make statements about the items and ask questions that we will follow up on later by staff. We even could post those questions ultimately and have a place where there's a Q&A from this meeting as well. So we'll figure out exactly how we do that. But I just wanted the public to be aware of that. And with that, I will turn it over to Deputy Superintendent Bassanelli.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, President Viasquez. Tonight, we would like to provide the board with a report regarding our opening day activities, as well as some recent changes to the CDPH guidance and the potential impacts that it has in terms of our hybrid model and possible next steps. And to start, I'd like to talk about the behind the scenes work that happened and the activities that led up to our opening day. Mr. Allen, if you could go to the next slide. So there were many activities that were in play to prepare for the return to in-person learning. One key strategy that we implemented was orientations, specifically for students and parents. And for students, we really focused on providing orientations really on those transitional grades. So looking at our transitional kindergarten through first grade students, our sixth grade students, ninth grade students, and any new student to the community, trying to provide opportunities for them to have in-person orientation so that they're able to get a lay of the land and really know what to expect on their first day of our in-person learning model. Additionally, we held parent orientations. They were conducted virtually. We also did provide some personal tours that were specifically for parents that were new to the school community or upon their request. Next slide. Our first day to in-person learning was Monday, and that was for cohort A. Overall, in our system, we're looking at a return to in-person learning to be about 71% of our total school enrollment. If you look at this by division, with elementary, it's about 75% of our enrollment, middle school, 67%, and at the high school level, it's 61% of the total enrollment is either in cohort A or in cohort B participating in in-person learning. On our first day of opening day, many members of cabinet went out to schools where they saw welcoming environments, safe practices and protocols, as well as happy learners. As I visited schools, community members of Twin Lakes, they were honking their horns while driving at the street as staff were putting up signs and balloons, getting ready to welcome students. So there was a real excitement in the air out there. At Pershing, I saw kindergartners coming to school very confident and knowing what to expect because of the groundwork that was put into place the week prior, as well as because of the relationships that have been built over this school year. As I went to Pasture Middle School, I saw students that were engaged in learning, and it was really special when I was touring with Mr. Dolan, Principal Dolan, in the classrooms, you could see the smiles in students' eyes behind their masks when they saw their principal in person who was greeting them there for their first day. So lots of relationship building was happening that first day, and there was a great energy in the air. Our next slide shows it's a small video that our communications team put together, and it's for your review and really highlighting some of the moments of our first day.
I'm excited to be back at school.
We are so excited to have students back, really excited to finish this year strong.
So excited, because I'm finally going to be able to see my friends.
Our students are just super happy to be back. It doesn't matter what zone they're in, they're just happy to be able to play, happy to be able to learn at school.
I'm happy to be back out here playing with the kids.
everyone to be nice and wear their masks.
Go ahead, Mr. Allen, when you're ready.
There we go. Let's try that again. So as we went through the pandemic, of course, we have continued to see updated guidance throughout, and the recent weeks have been no change. So we did want to provide an update on some of that recent change that we have seen in the guidance from both state and local officials, starting with the athletics programs. We have seen an expansion of the availability of athletics. So at this point, all of our athletic teams are able to engage in practices as well as competition. Depending on the tier level that the county is in, requires that we implement different precautions though. So for our indoor sports and for those high contact outdoor sports, the football and water polo, as well as all those indoor sports, it does require that we do COVID-19 testing on a regular basis with those student athletes as well as the coaches. So we've been doing that with our football team and teams and our water polo teams now for a couple of weeks. And we're working to move into the indoor sports next. So we're building that program up, and so far, so good. That has been all negative tests so far, thankfully. We have had, of course, some good reminders from our local county health officials as they have seen outbreaks among athletic teams in other areas. Again, fortunately, not with us, but they are asking us to have good reminders to keep our team meetings outdoors whenever possible, and that we should have those face coverings on for our athletic practices as well as competitions at all times. And that for those larger teams, we really should be trying to divide them into smaller pods for practices where they stay together for those practice sessions, so that we minimize the amount of mixing between student groups as much as possible. The other piece that has really changed rapidly over the last week, especially, is the guidance around band, cheer, drum lines, and choir. So the state had updated its guidance to say we could not have sideline cheer. So for those football games that were coming back online, they had said no cheerleading on the sidelines. Fortunately, they did very last minute change that guidance to allow for that. And they have since come back and also clarified that band, drum lines, and choir are allowed to be outside and engaging in some of those activities as low contact student activities as well. And again, just reminding us that there should be some mitigation and some prevention measures in place when we engage in those activities too. The other piece that I want to provide an update on this slide is just the guidance around small group cohorts. So this is the guidance that we've really used with especially our childcare programs, our smaller groups that we've been bringing in prior to being in the red tier. And the state has now updated that guidance to say that it only applies when we are in the purple tier. So that does allow us more flexibility in how we can size some of those other programs, specifically our childcare before and after school programs, and some of those ECE and preschool programs as well. So that's good news for us in how we can expand perhaps some of those services moving forward. And of course, the big piece of guidance that is the latest breaking piece of guidance came to us just over the weekend. So late last week, the Center for Disease Control did update its guidance at the federal level to change from 6 feet of spacing inside of classrooms between students down to 3 feet of spacing between students inside of classrooms. The state very quickly followed suit on a Saturday. So on Saturday, the state did release revised guidance aligning with the federal guidance. And so that is now being kind of pushed through that chain that happens. So we have now received some additional clarification from the county officials, and we're sitting down to kind of take a look at what all that means for us here in San Juan, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But again, going from that 6 feet down to 3 feet of space between student desks applies both to our early childhood programs as well as our TK-12 programs. But important to know that 6 feet of spacing remains in place in a number of areas, specifically between adult desks, adult to adult desks and adult to student desks, and those common areas. So the MP rooms, the hallways, the entryways, all those places are still 6 feet of spacing between all individuals. Anytime a mask can't be worn, so again, in those cafeterias or other places where you might be having food or anything like that, and those masks are off, certainly have to have at least 6 feet of spacing. And then during activities with increased exhalation, where we're exercising or having a lot of breath and coming in and out, of course, band, exercise, those places, we want to make sure that we're doing at least, again, 6 feet of spacing there as well, according to this revised guidance. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. So I'm going to take us through some of the impacts of these changes, specifically around the guidance from 6 feet to 3 feet and what that means for us as a district. So first I wanted to start with, when you look at our current distance learning, and Ms. Bassnelli kind of spoke to this in terms of the percentage, we have over 11,000 students who are currently in distance learning in cohort C. That's 29% of our enrollment, and it does vary by division, which she alluded to, but I want to share there, even when you look at the elementary division in each of those divisions. So we have that data by school. So the lowest percentage of students at any one elementary school, we have 13% that would be in distance learning in an elementary school. The highest is 38%. And the variance is all in between there. At middle schools, the lowest percent is 26, and that goes up to 43. And at high school, you see those numbers with a low of 31 all the way up to 51%. And looking at that data again this morning, we even have some classes at some high schools, specifically Mariloma High School, that has 55% of their seniors, a little less of their juniors. We're seeing a higher number of those upperclassmen. And I think Dr. McKibben, the question that you asked the two young ladies who spoke so well tonight as well, alludes to some of the things. Even it's somewhat easier to stay home, or they have other reasons why they're staying home for safety reasons, or even helping the family. But those are some of the just the raw numbers that we're dealing with right now. Next slide. So I'm going to speak specifically to, as we look at that change in requirements, what that looks like in terms of spacing and classroom. I'm going to go pretty deep into school staffing, specifically looking at an elementary school and a middle school, as I had previously talked about the shifts and the impacts that could have. I'm going to walk us through a specific example. We'll look a little bit at transportation and what we have there, and how that impacts us as we move forward, and then specialty and service providers' schedules. So next slide. So we have two examples here of spacing in a classroom. And you can see that when we go to, we've kind of used an average classroom. A lot of our classrooms are this 960 square feet. We do have some that are smaller in the 700, 800. And then obviously we have larger classes when you look at some of the specialty programs, band, choir, maker space. But these are two examples. One being, if you have a classroom with single desks, and you have 3 feet of spacing, you could get up to 46 desks in that classroom. You'll see the additional spacing for the teacher with the 6-foot circle there, a little bit more space. When we look at classrooms that have tables, and someone could say, well, you should have had single desks in all these classrooms. Well, if the guidance had gone to 2 feet, our tables would be fine. But now that they're at 3 feet, and if you have a 4 feet table, it creates some really unique challenges for us. We have a significant number of classes in the district that do have tables. We are looking school by school. We would look at how many students would be coming back if we were to go to increased days, how many students we could get in those. But the example again, with a 960 square foot classroom, if we have those 4-foot tables, we could get 25 students in that classroom. So in a classroom like that, if we had more students in that, we would be needing to find a way to move in individual desks. In talking with Mr. Kumar today, that one of the things, as we've started to have kind of furniture guidelines as we build new schools, and even as we replace furniture, one of the things that we're doing is we're moving away from this table approach and more modular furniture that can be moved and can create those spaces. Because one of the advantages of having tables is it really encourages more collaboration and working together during normal times. And kids usually enjoy sitting in those shared spaces rather than just a desk in rows. So that's just an example. We are continuing to look at each of our facilities and the capacities in the rooms. Next slide. So I want to speak a little bit about the changes that would take place if we were to, when we move to 3 feet of space. So 2 examples here. If we are to go from 2 days of our current model to 4 days of our current model, and we no longer had an A and a B cohort, and we just had a in-person cohort and still a distance learning cohort, we would see minimal impact for both student class assignments as well as staff assignments. And I spoke in detail at the last board meeting about the impacts to student assignments. Again, I'm going to go into that in a little bit of detail here in a second. If we were to go 2 days to 5 full days, you would see substantial impacts on student class assignments as well as the staff assignments. I mentioned last time that we would have well over 10,000 students who would need to be reassigned, and likely at least 300 plus teachers in our K-12 system that would have to have a new assignment. And so we're going to dig into that a little bit more. So next slide. So this is an example of an elementary school. This is actually one of our elementary schools. And what I want you to see in that first chart is that each of those grades, they have 2 classes. We call them sections. And you can see in kindergarten, they have 51 students. They have a class of 26 and a class of 25. In each of those sections, you can see the total number of students for a total of 12 teachers. Most of the classes cap at 26. They can go a little bit higher when they go into those upper grades. And when you see like a 29 and a 23, a 29 and 24, they may have balanced those classes out. This is just how we kind of look at the numbers when we get to a point where classes are full. If we were to go to school a full day, 5-day a week at this particular school, School A, in that last column, what I've shown you is the number of students that are currently in distance learning. So we have 10 students in kindergarten, which would mean we would have 26 students in kindergarten and 15. First grade, we have 13 distance learners. You would go from 24 to 11, and you can see at each grade level, you'd have, in second grade, you'd have 15, third grade, you'd have 10 in that third class, 10 and 11 in 4th and 5th grade. What you would notice here is that we no longer have a need for 12 teachers at this school. We would be overstaffed at this point, and we would not have the staffing to provide for our distance learners. So this is probably one of the best case scenarios that we would have, because you would have 3 current teachers who are teaching at a specific grade level that would now be teaching a combination class. You'll notice like the yellow at 4-5, that would become a combination class of 21 students. The 2-3 would become a combination of 25. The K1 would become a combination of 26. So we would be going from a school with 0 combos to 3 right there, and 3 teachers shifting their assignment. Then who would teach the distance learners? We would have to identify through a process with HR 3 teachers at this site that would become full distance learning teachers. They would be teaching a K1 combo again with 23 students, a 2-3 combo with 22 students, and a 4-5 combo with 26 students. So we would go from 0 out of 12 teachers teaching combos to half of the staff now teaching combos. You would see a significant shift in the number of students who would have a new teacher as well. And this is actually at a school where the numbers work out really, really well. There would be scenarios where we would have to shift teachers, and they may not be able to serve just the students in their community in distance learning. They may have to support students at school A and a school B. And so these are the kind of shifts that we need to make sure that we're aware of if we were to move to a 5-day in-person model. Next slide. So I want to give you an example of a secondary, and I tried to pick a secondary in the middle of, we have some large middle schools that are at 1,000. We have high schools which are much bigger than this. But in this situation, this school, which is an actual school, has 1,100 students. We normally staff schools at a ratio that's just around 28. And people go, how do you do that? You actually have 30 some in a class. Well, when you take the class average at 33, you consider that teachers get prep. Over the course of their 6 periods, the average is closer to 28. So for a school of 1,100, we need 40 teachers. And more, if it was a larger school, we would need more teachers. If we were to move at secondary schools to full day, 5 days a week, this school currently has 748, pardon me, 748 students that are attending it. If we take that same logic and we say, okay, a school of 748 divided by 28, now we only need 27 teachers for this school. Where do the other 13 teachers go? We would have to identify 13 teachers to really meet the needs of the 350 plus students that would be in distance learning. So what does that look like in terms of a shift? Well, if I'm staying in person, or I'll do a better example. If I'm moving to distance learning and I currently had 165 students in my program, and I'm gonna keep 30% of them are going to distance learning, 50% of those kids are gonna, or 50 students are gonna stay with me. I'm sorry, 45 would stay with me. The remaining students would all get a new teacher. So in a situation like that, we're gonna see large shifts. Other teachers that would stay in person, they're gonna have students that would go to distance learning, and we're gonna have to backfill those sections as well. This is where, when we start to talk about the magnitude of shifting the number of students, shifting the number of staff, gets very, very significant. And this is one of our smaller high schools. You would see 13 teachers. When we start looking at schools that are more in the 17, 1800, 2000, you could almost double the amount of teachers that would need to be shifted at our large high schools. And I will share with you, to completely rebuild a master schedule at a high school and a middle school, which would need to be done, is not something that happens in a week or two. Normally that process starts in May. Schools run their master schedule in June, and then they spend the remainder of the summer cleaning it up. Now, we would have to expedite that, but I just want for the community and the board to see the kind of implications that would take place if we were to go to a full day, 5 day a week program. Next slide. There are other factors that we have to consider as we're looking to move to that 3-foot shift and have students in school more days than we currently are. We currently transport 521 students with IEPs. You can see there's a total of 82 routes. This is shifting every single day, and you can see the number of additional requests that we have gotten each day. Now, we're not able to just add a brand new route for each of these. We have to build these students into these routes. When and if we move to additional days, whether that would be 4 or 5, it's likely we're going to have to reroute the entire system. We do have some students with IEPs that are going to school 4 days a week already. But if Dr. McKibben was going on Monday and Tuesday, and I was going on Thursday and Friday, and the same bus driver was picking us up, but we were on opposite ends of the town, that won't work once we go to 4 days a week. So I want folks to just understand the complexities as well that is going to take us to reroute our entire system when it comes to these students. And we have a responsibility based on their IEPs to make sure that we're providing those services. Next slide. We have another large group of specialty and service providers scheduled. You can see these groups here, all the way from our elementary specialists, which we have 105 of, to folks in special ed, ELD, our nurses, and our MTSS centers. These folks have schedules based on when students attend school. So right now, and Ms. Costa could probably speak to this because I think she used to do the prep schedule way back in the day when she was a principal or a director. To provide that elementary specialist time for those takes a while. If we are to shift again from 2 days to additional days, that's going to take us some time. It is not just a switch that we can flip and will immediately happen. The same is true with students with IEPs. We need to make sure that we're going to be able to meet all the guidance that is in their ELD or their IEP. Same with our students with ELD. We're not pulling those kids out of their core curriculum. We have to find a way to serve the students outside of the core curriculum. So it's important, again, for all of us to understand the amount of work that we will be doing in order to provide this shift. So where are we on this journey? I want to share with the board really what we think our next steps are. We plan to move to adopt 3 feet of physical distancing within classrooms. We would like to increase to 4 days of in-person instruction And we would like to implement these changes as soon as logistics are in place, which is a lot of what I went over, as well as the impacts are addressed with our employee groups. We do have to go back and address the impacts with our employee groups. I will share with you that we met already yesterday afternoon with the leadership from SJTA. We have an additional meeting scheduled tomorrow. As I shared with the board in closed session, we are having many hiring jobs right now, so we don't have just free time every day. Next week, we do have a number of folks that are not out, so we will not be able to negotiate again this week, but we will be going through this process with them. And you can see there, the reason why we believe this is the plan that we need to move forward with is, and I'm going to read this, valuing the relationships that have been built between teacher and student and between student to student. This option would be the least disruptive for all. And one of the last things that I wanted to say as well is we've heard in some of the emails that we've gotten from folks that San Juan Unified is the last to act. I want to say in Sacramento County, and I would like people to compare Sacramento County because all along counties that have been next to us have been in different situations. And I know that frustrates people, but that's been the reality we dealt with. We've heard we've been so slow to move. Out of the 4 largest urban school districts in Sacramento County, we are the only ones that have K-12 students in person at this time. Elk Grove does not yet. Twin Rivers does not yet. Sac City does not yet. And some of those are still weeks out until they will. So I want to clarify that for the community, that of the large urbans, we are the only one with K-12 in session. And I probably think we're the only ones that are having this conversation this soon as well. So I'll turn it to you at this time, President Villescaz. I will let the board know we do have one more staff report after this. Rick Messer is going to provide an update on graduation ceremonies as well.
Thank you very much to the team for the staff report. I am going to turn it over to my colleagues for comments and note at the outset that because a lot of this material was not shared prior, questions will have to be addressed either through a BC or another means at a different time, but we can have comments at this time. So I'll turn it over to my colleagues for that purpose. I'm going to go ahead and go in order. And if you'd like to pass, just please nod your head, but we'll begin with Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kern and all those that presented, thank you so much for the report. And before I ask my question in one statement, I just want to thank all those that made our first day of school so special. Many of us were able to see the children back, and it was great to see. So thank you so much to everyone. And so my first question goes to Trent and Mr. Messer. We talked about the indoor sports, and that we're trying to get there as soon as possible. If you could let us know, you can't answer the question, Mr. Messer, sorry. You can, do we have a goal in mind when we plan to implement indoor sports? And in that goal date, has that been communicated to our principals and ADs throughout the district so they can plan accordingly? That's my question. Get back to me as soon as you can on that. My statement is, Mr. Kern, I realize that, logistics with the size of our district to switch so quickly does have some logistical challenges. But I applaud you and all those that are in discussion to make this a reality as soon as possible. And I, for one, will again like to say that, again, appreciate all those that are involved, but that whatever and however we can to get our students back in the classroom in person as soon as possible is something that I feel that our students have been asking for, our parents have been asking for, our community. And again, I know it's a big task, but I appreciate where we are and anything and everything we can do to get us back as soon as possible. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Ms. Costa?
I just want to say, I really cannot thank our district administrators, our site administrators, our teachers, our support staff, our classified employees who have worked so tirelessly to make it a reality that we came back on Monday. And actually looking across the district, we came back seamlessly. And there were a lot of naysayers who said it wasn't possible. And I think it was possible just because of the hard work and the planning. So hats off to everybody who made that a reality. I have talked to elementary and secondary teachers who said something that everybody said how positive it was. But they said something that I hadn't considered, and that was that having small numbers of students in their classrooms was allowing them to cover material. And granted, I've talked to 8 people, so this is not a huge sampling. Allowed them to cover so much more material in the first 2 days than they've ever been able to cover in weeks and weeks. And it's because they had so few kids. They saw this as possibly a way to mitigate learning loss. And that was something that I hadn't considered before. So that was interesting to me. In terms of questions, you talked about tables, and I'm going back and trying to figure this in my head. And so we're talking a lot of years since I was in the classroom, but when you have 2 student desks, that's a different size than tables. So can you send a reply? I know we're not doing question and answer. So if I can get a reply on how big a 2-student desk is, I can't remember anymore. At a point in time, I could have told you how big it is, and then whether that would accommodate students or whether we need individual desks. And I know we're not responding. So
I'm going to
that's
ask
okay.
for clarification. So like the tables that we have, you're asking for the size of those?
I'm saying we have tables in classes, and then we have 2 student desks, and at least when I was a teacher, and it may have changed altogether since I was a teacher, but we had tables in elementary classrooms that seated more than 2 kids across. And then we had 2 student desks. And in my head, the 2 student desks are like 4 feet. So you could only get 1 student at a 2-student desk. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. And it's a very nitpicky kind of thing, but I think at least in the period of time that I was in the district, both as a teacher and as a principal, there were a lot of 2-student desks in classrooms. Then the next question is, with secondary, as if we went to a model, to the 5-person model where we shift everybody and all the teachers, all the students, what would happen with credentialing requirements for secondary teachers if we had a large number of teachers that had to go to distance learning and we didn't have enough to accommodate all the subjects that need to be covered in distance learning? And then lastly, you're not kidding when you talked about the specialist scheduling and how much time goes into that. And I know MTSS is not a whole lot easier. And special education and ELD are very complicated. So what is staff's best estimate on how long it would take to do that? In my head, I'm thinking how long it used to take me to do the prep scheduling just for specialists. So I can't imagine all of those schedules that have to be redone. So with that, thank you.
Ms. Creason?
Thank you. I want to just start with yay for 4 days. I mean, I feel like we're spending a lot of time talking about 5 days. That probably isn't going to work, but 4 days is amazing. And if I'm understanding correctly, that would be full-time 4 days. And I know that we can't have a back and forth, or there would only be one cohort. Either you're going, you can't respond. So I know this is not going to be a popular comment, but I think that this item really does highlight why it may be a good idea to have a standing agenda item so that we can have the discussion, because things are just moving so fast that it takes so much time, yeah. So I probably don't understand correctly. If what I thought I heard is that we could do a 4-day, and it would be either we would get rid of the cohorts and there'd be an in-person and distance learning that would remain. And so if I'm understanding what that means in the way of hours, that would increase the hours daily, but maybe not. So I guess I have a lot of questions about what that actually looks like and what that actually means. I do think that we need a standing agenda item so that we can have it back and forth. So I'll make a couple of comments. I am also incredibly thankful to everybody, to the staff and to teachers and everybody, everyone that made it happen, because it was hard. It's a heavy lift and there were so many shifts. I've said it, many people have heard me say it. I don't necessarily love the model that was selected, but I understand it. I understand why. And I really appreciate everything that has gone into it. And it's been a really hard time for a lot of reasons. So I really do appreciate that. I also want to give a shout out to parents too that made it work really quickly. You wanted it, you got it really fast, but just because the numbers were changing, everything's happening so quick. So I know that, people were out buying school supplies and clothes. I haven't bought my child clothes in forever because I didn't need to, just like, nothing fits. And I know that was it was exciting, but I know that was a quick, fast lift. So it was exciting to see. And I'm just, want to applaud everyone. I want to also note that I understand this is a workplace issue. I know that there's expectation because, as parents, we want to hurry up and get our kids back into what we believe will be best for them. But I do just want to, and I do too, but I do recognize that this is a workplace issue. I do respect the bargaining process, just like any of us in any workplace. I have staff. I can't just change their job overnight. That's just not how it works. And so, although I hope that we can expedite things, I recognize you have a huge workforce you have to deal with as the rules continue to change and flip on top of you. So I just want to acknowledge that as well. I want to comment, the idea of the reasons has come up twice. Reasons why kids are maybe staying in distance learning. It came up during the high school reports and it did come up now. And I think it's important to also point out that part of the challenge is this doesn't work for working families. Just being able to, the transportation issue is almost impossible. So I just think it's an important piece. Everyone has a reason, and they're all valid reasons, I'm sure. And I'm not here to judge. I know we have our challenges too, but it is something that I think it's worth pointing out just because it hadn't been said yet. I am wondering if as we're looking into what we can do, how many kids we could get into classrooms on campus, are we looking at what we can do outdoors? It looks like the weather is starting to get better. I know that there's probably a whole lot that goes into that too, but I'm just wondering if that's been part of the conversation. And I think that's it for now. I really do like the idea of, maybe bubbling these questions into a Q&A, because we know that a lot of these questions are coming from community and trying to answer them one-off is tough. But luckily, I think spring break is a saving grace in a lot of ways. It gives us a little bit of time. And I know we can't put a timeline on this. I know that there's a process that needs to happen, but if we can get kids on campuses for more time, I think everyone would appreciate that. Thank you.
Dr. McKibben.
That if I do the math and I was told that math wasn't involved in this job, and I'm trying to do the math here, that we have 53 days of school left this year. One of the things that I think that we have tried to, as we have made these decisions throughout, both staff and the number of 80-hour weeks and so forth that staff has done so far, trying to figure these things out, have been phenomenal. But I think the priority that we have had throughout is the relationship of the teacher and the student was the paramount issue that we had to think about as we made our decisions. I think that is still true. That looking at the choices that we make and the choices that we have, trying to maintain the one-to-one relationship between the teacher and the student is still the most important thing that we have to consider. In my more than 50 years in education, I've spent a lot of time teaching in different kinds of settings. And one of those was combination classes. But when I taught a combination class, I knew that I had the summer to figure it out, because trying to figure out a combination class and teaching that with a few weeks' notice would be close to unreasonable. Even though you can teach developmentally, you can do things like that. But to do it on the run is like fixing a bicycle while you're riding it. It's just, and if we do the things that we have to, we're looking at combination classes for a lot of teachers. I also taught at the secondary level and had to move from between two different schools because of a numbers kind of thing. That's something that I wouldn't wish on any teacher and that sort of thing. So trying to try to keep the students that the teachers have now and working out a system so that can happen, for me, is one of our top priorities, because that relationship between the teacher and the student is something we have to maintain at all costs. And the system that we choose should continue to have that as its first priority.
Thank you, Dr. McKibben. I also just have some comments, and first, I just want to say, one, I'm thrilled that we launched on Monday, and I mean, the only thing that's been consistent throughout this entire event is change, and it probably feels a little bit, I mean, I feel like I have whiplash. I was so thrilled to finally kind of, execute a learning model that brought kids back to class on Monday, and then 48 hours prior, it felt like winds had been taken out of sails because again, things just keep changing, and we know that that's been consistent. And I'm encouraged that the discussions, up to now, we have always said as a system, we will follow the guidance and we will follow the science. And so it's not a question of if we're conforming to the new guidance, it's how we're going to do that in a way that makes sense to the majority, for the majority of our community. For an institution this big, it will take time. We cannot flip a switch immediately. We were getting emails almost immediately once the California Department of Public Health guidelines were released. And yes, we've been following them very closely and considering the implications thereof, but it will take a little bit of time. It'll take a little bit more discussion. And I also just want to acknowledge the timing is a little, even the timing and how we set our agenda. Our agenda was already set publicly before, well before, and when I say well before, I mean a solid 48 hours prior to the new guidance. And so it's not that we were trying, or that I was trying to limit discussion anyway, just the timing was such that we have certain conditions we have to fulfill to, let the public know what we're going to be discussing. So we'll definitely be bringing back a more robust discussion once a little bit more conversations have been happening, and if it necessitates, possibly even prior to our next scheduled meeting. And the one thing I wanted to emphasize, particularly as we're starting to talk about different models, I try to I can't put myself in a parent's shoes. I'm not a parent. I don't have kids at home. And even when I do my best, I know that it's a fraction of envisioning all of the work that goes into making this work and getting the kids to school. And I can only go back to when I was a child, when, we were constantly juggling between the electrical bills and the gas bills. And when I think about 2.5 hours at class, I know that the calculation in my household would have been, is that worth the gas money to rearrange things to get kids back to school? And so my one thing that I want to kind of emphasize and that I'm mindful of is that even in the 4-day model, to the extent that we can build in a little bit more time in that day, I know that it'll go a long way to making it more family friendly for our working families. Having grown up in a single parent working family household, the cohort situation as it works now, while I'm really glad, particularly at the elementary model, we see a lot of engagement in those numbers and uptake in those numbers, which I'm thrilled about. But to the extent that we can consider building in just a little bit of extra room in that day to extend the 2.5 hours, I know that it would be a positive impact on our families. So that was the end of my remarks. Sure.
President Vasquez, one of the things that I could speak to is for the community. Normally our scheduling for our agendas for the board meeting when we have these 2-week cycles is we finish a board meeting on Tuesday, and all items for the following board meeting are due Wednesday. And by Friday, Ms. Viasquez and myself are getting the draft board packet. We're reviewing that in cabinet the following Monday. I review it with the board president on Tuesday, and it goes to print on Wednesday. So there's a cycle around this work that we do that sometimes seems like we're not being responsive. Now we can add things when we see that there's, if it's before we're going to print or prior to even posting that publicly, which we have a requirement to do as well prior. So that's kind of something that I think we should remind our community even more often, that is the cycle that we're in. And it feels like a never ending cycle for some of us at times.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. Thank you for the report. Oh, Ms. Creason?
Something that I think that just a statement for the community. There may be some stress thinking, oh, okay, well, nothing's going to happen until the board meets again. But I want to remind folks, we haven't voted on any of these, items. So please don't feel like everything's on pause and that there isn't discussion, or there aren't discussions happening and work isn't being done because there was an action tonight. Their action isn't required for a change to be made in regards to the 3 to 6 to 3.
And this is one of these cycles actually where we have 3 weeks when we have a 5th Tuesday in a month. We have 3 weeks between this board meeting and the next. So that actually happens, I think, on the 13th. So you are correct that we'll be continuing to work on this. We will not be waiting until we bring something formally back.
Thank you. I think that's an important, and just because you brought up, just the cycle of the agenda too. I mean, yes, there's the cycle in the logistics, but also it's the Brown Act. The Brown Act requires us to post by a certain date. And I believe that's really what got in the way beyond just internal process. It really was a legal requirement. We couldn't add anything because we have to post X amount of days before a meeting. So I just want to make that clear to folks too. Didn't have a choice. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further comment at this time, we are still at staff reports. Mr. Messer.
Good evening, President Viasquez, members of the board, Superintendent Kern. It's a pleasure to see you. It is truly a pleasure to see you. It's been a long time. Tonight, I'm happy to share with you that we're currently planning outdoor in-person graduations for all of our high schools. At this time, all high schools are going to be graduating either on one of their own fields or stadiums in our district. So we'll be using all of our own facilities. We are organizing for live streaming, seating, additional seating, and then hopefully attendance. As we know today, we may, the way this world changes so much, we're following the Air Force Academy's model from a year ago to set up our fields. And then we're going to plan for attendance. And today can't tell you what attendance is going to look like. But if we follow, hopefully, the model at minimum that we're using for our football games, our facilities, or for family members are attending those events right now with success, we will at least be able to have that opportunity for families to attend. So this is huge compared to where we were a year ago, almost a year ago to today. The district will be supporting the additional costs that are involved with providing live streaming. We do have some media programs at our high schools, such as Del Campo, San Juan, and which other schools? Maybe in Casa, that probably are going to host their own live streaming, but we're also going to be coordinating and contracting out for professional services for the other high schools, because we also need to include sound systems so that it's really going to be a quality live streaming event as well as a graduation event. We did have to adjust some dates for our graduations. Mesa Verde, Rio Americano, and Mira Loma typically graduate at Memorial Auditorium. So they are coordinating with fellow schools on dates to make sure we can coordinate where they're going to graduate. And it looks like Mira Loma is probably going to graduate on their campus. Rio Americano is interested on graduating on their field, their brand new field. And I believe Mesa Verde is going to use Del Campo currently. But I'm just happy to share with you that we are going to have live in-person graduations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Messer. Yes, it's very exciting news. Before I turn it over to my colleagues for any questions, I also just want to acknowledge that in his good news, it's also his final report with us. He's been poached by a neighbor. We won't go into naming names, but I wanted to just flag that for my colleagues and take a moment to say, way to go out on a high note. What wonderful news to be able to share with us. And I want to thank you for your service to the San Juan community and family and all that you've done on behalf of our entire community. You will be missed and we wish you well, but I'll also see if my colleagues have anything to add at this time.
And
Mr.
I am
Hernandez?
presenting
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
after this also. So I have one
What's
more
that?
presentation for you also tonight.
Okay, well, so I'll just say then, make sure
Please
you
go
have
ahead.
some hard questions prepped then for the next one for Mr. Messer. But if there's any comments at this time, if not, we can also save them for the next one. Any questions particular to the presentation as well? Very exciting, in-person graduations. Yay. Yes, I have a comment. Oh, Miss Creason, sorry, go ahead and stay with us.
I think these masks are really blocking our communication.
Sorry.
No, it's my fault too. Yay. I just wanted to publicly say yay. This is great. There's no way I was going to remain silent on that. I mean, my heart absolutely broke last year for all those kids and those families. I cannot, at that moment, I was like, I can't imagine having to go through it. And then I had to go through it because my son graduated boot camp in Chicago and we couldn't go. We still haven't seen him since he left for the Navy, So I'm just really, I had to experience it. And I wasn't expecting I was going to have to experience it. And I'm just so glad that we don't have to do that again. It's absolutely terrible. So thank you for all the work that has gone into that.
Mr. Hernandez.
Mr. Messer, again, it's great news. And I think I speak for my colleagues and to say with all the responsibilities that we have as board members, for me to attend a high school graduation, to be able to see our students graduate, to just to be able to watch is one of the greatest experiences that we have in our responsibilities. So we're just so excited we get to attend again.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Seeing no further comments at this time. We are now at item E4, Board Appointed District Committees. Tonight we have reports from two committees. We'll begin with Ms. Jennifer Morgan, Chair of the Curriculum and Standards Committee. Ms. Morgan, please begin when you're ready.
Good evening, President Vasquez, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. The Curriculum Standards, Instructional and Student Services Board Advisory Committee met last Wednesday, March 17th, for what has traditionally become the favorite CNS meeting of the year. It's typically a time when we get to hear dozens of passionate teachers and administrators share their creative ideas for educating San Juan Unified's kids. Our committee members usually comment on how inspired they are after the various presentations and on how proud they feel to be a part of this educational community. Even though this year's meeting was a stark contrast to our norm, like everything else with this school year, what we have learned from this divergence gives us hope for our future. In discussion with Ms. Baucom, we learned how well she adapted their typical processes to meet the changing needs of these times, and how using new tools and organizational strategies could drive potentially increased teacher participation and collaboration during the independent review stage of the curriculum adoption process henceforth. Having said that, we did hear from the team regarding a handful of small adoptions for which the committee voted unanimously to approve. And lastly, given our return to in-person learning this week, I would be remiss if I did not share how wonderful it has been to see and feel our school communities come alive again. At our previous meeting, Maya Jenkins shared her experience of getting to watch an actual football game from the stands in support of Bella Vista. And though freezing cold, the warmth and joy for simply sharing that experience all together lifted so many spirits in the students and their families. Personally, as a Cameron Ranch Elementary parent, what I've missed most above all else has been the people. So even if just for a moment and even only from a car window, to get to see our amazing principal, the radiant Allison Sloss, whose praises I cannot sing enough, see our aides and teachers' faces, and being able to frantically wave to families and kids across the parking lot has brought a ray of sunshine to these last 2 short days. So thank you. I am hopeful for what is to come. At this time, I turn it back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan, for your presentation and your report on behalf of the Curriculum and Standards Committee. At this point, I'll do a quick check to see if my colleagues have any comments or questions. Ms. Creason, who very deliberately indicated, yes, she did in the affirmative.
Big head nod. It's good to see you. I just want to thank you so much for your, and I saw the emotion. And so I just want to acknowledge that. And I feel it. And just thank you for all you do. I know that your committee does it's a heavy lift. And actually you answered one of the questions that I had for that report that's going to be, discussed about the curriculum is, what did curriculum and standards say? So just really appreciate all that you do. Something that's come up a lot in community is how do I get more involved? How do I engage long game? A lot of people are involved because of the moment, but people want to continue it. And one of the things I always say is start engaging in those committees because that's where the sausage is made, right? By the time we get it, it's all pretty and shiny and new, right? You guys are the ones that are really doing the messy work as it's being developed and built. So I just want to acknowledge that and just say thank you so much. And also I love your principal too. And I love the quiet corner in her office with the little finger mazes. Yes, if I could hang out there, often I'd be a better person. So just thank you for all that you do.
Our office is so peaceful. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Jennifer, I had the chance one of the 5 schools I visited on the first day was Cameron Ranch, and had the chance to just go around and, see some of our ILS classes that had already been in session for a while, but then also see one of our home-built hand washing stations out there that they were teaching all the kids how to use. And it really was exciting. So I just appreciate you sharing your perspective as a parent of that. And thank you for your commitment to the committee as well. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you very much for your report on behalf of the committee. I know a number of us have actually served ourselves on the committee or been the board liaison, and I think it's still the one that meets the most frequently. And so there's a lot of work that goes into it. Appreciate the time and dedication that you and your colleagues on the committee put into it, and thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Tom Nelson, Chair of the LCAP PAC. Mr. Nelson, please begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, President Villasquez, board members, Superintendent Kern, Ms. Cunningham. My name is Tom Nelson. I am chair of your LCAP Parent Advisory Committee. For the public who may not know, LCAP will be the district's plan for the next 3 years. Our committee's last meeting was on Thursday, March 11th. Of the 20 committee members, 14 were absent. We did not have quorum. Unlike previous meetings, we were unable to call for votes to take action. We appreciate the 6 members as well as Superintendent Kern, senior staff, and our board liaison who did attend. However, it is concerning when 70% of committee members do not attend a meeting. Our school board has appointed 20 members to our Parent Advisory Committee to represent 40,000 families. Thank you for your selection of these 20 members to speak as representatives for our district's students and parents. Good governance depends upon good representation of our communities. And to be the resource valued by you, our members need to be present to understand district planning. That deep understanding allows our members to develop LCAP goals and the supports necessary to achieve effective strategies of the district plan. We appreciate staff is sharing their ongoing engagement with a diverse range of stakeholders. Our meetings build an understanding of data to inform our discussions. Those discussions develop the actions for our district plan. Attendance Attendance allows our committees to be key communicators and advocates about LCAP strategies and outcomes, as well as monitor and evaluate progress of LCAP goals. As Superintendent Kern pointed out, only 6 members will not be adequate representation for 40,000 families. That is especially true when many members have not experienced a complete annual cycle. A very positive outcome of our last meeting was parents had more time to share personal experiences Improved dialogue was facilitated by our parents using the chat feature in Zoom to ask questions. This allowed staff in our committee to hear directly from parents struggling with their situations. Some people expressed concern that the state mandated indicators for the Department of Education do not address some aspects they would like to know. It should be remembered that the LCAP process allows for school districts to develop their own indicators. If there are aspects which our school district thinks should be put into the district plan, LCAP allows for us to add those indicators. So adding indicators allows our school board to measure progress on what you, the school board, thinks is important to measure. In my opinion, the most engaging and informative item of our meeting was an excellent presentation by students who are members of the San Juan Youth Voice Advocates. These students were able to receive extensive training to facilitate their meetings. This training allowed students to create a safe space for sharing. Our own LCAP student member, Kenan, did a wonderful job of coordinating and facilitating information from students. The presentation by these student stakeholders gave valuable insight to student experiences. I look forward to sharing the Zoom recording with our committee members. The district-wide report from activities of these students promises to be very useful to the development of LCAP, and hopefully the board will get a copy of that district-wide report from those students too. Our committee reviewed the overarching themes of our board-approved strategic framework and its 4 focus areas. Reviewing our district's strategic framework helps instill the concept that we serve the greater good of our students. Our members are connected to our school communities. Those communities are described as we. Our school board selects our members to represent that concept of we instead of individual interests. I want to thank our new LCAP director, Juan, for emphasizing the value of that collaboration. Staff, also describe the process of that process is the alignment of our LCAP plan at the district level with over 60 school site plans known as SPSAs. That is a huge task which our school board oversees. I greatly appreciate that dates of the SPSA site approval plans by our school board are being adjusted to allow for greater alignment with the LCAP and SPSA activities. Staff also reported at our March meeting that many of the LCAP actions have already been drafted. And at our April meeting, we look forward to working on those drafts of goals and actions, metrics, and expenditure information. I want to thank my fellow committee members who assisted me in preparing this report. Thank you, and I invite questions from the board.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. And I'm going to ask if my colleagues, if they wish to be acknowledged, to affirmatively raise their hand. I just don't want to miss anybody, and it's hard to see facial expressions in the masks. And so at this point, I'll turn it to my colleagues to see if anybody has any questions or comment. Mr. Hernandez.
No questions, but I just want to thank Mr. I have the portable one. Can you hear me? Yes.
Try again?
Yes.
Can you hear Mr. Hernandez?
Mr. Nelson, I just want to thank you for the report and appreciate your sharing this or this very important committee for us. We know you bring a lot of expertise, and thank you again for the report.
Yes, well, thank you.
Just echoing my thanks, and particularly as the board liaison, I will concur that the highlight of the last meeting was from our youth advocates, and being able to hear them really was the highlight of my week, and hearing about their work and all of the incredible advocacy they're doing amongst themselves and for their peers was really incredible. So thank you, Mr. Nelson, and thank you as well to the committee for your presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
At this time, we are now at items E5 and E6. Mr. Allen, do we have any reports from employee organizations or other district organizations?
We do, President Villesquez. We have Bill Simmons with the San Juan Teachers Association.
Mr. Simmons, thanks for joining us, and please begin when you're ready.
members of the board, and Superintendent Kern. I'm a sixth grade English and history teacher and president of the San Juan Teachers Association. Over this last year, the San Juan Teachers Association and the district agreed that during this unprecedented health pandemic, we would follow the science. Our agreements have been based on the guidance of the California Department of Public Health in order to keep the students and staff of San Juan Unified safe. The San Juan Teachers Association and our members have continued to adapt to the constantly evolving guidance, including multiple changes to the California color tiering system and its timelines. These changes at times have been dramatic and unexpected, yet we have always come back to the table to work with district staff to make the needed adjustments. Those adjustments include significant changes to the instructional models used by practitioners to provide the best education for our students in the safest conditions possible. Yesterday, we began yet another step in this ever-evolving process by moving to the hybrid model that allows for a safe physical return to in-person services for TK through 12th grade. A model, I might add, the district imposed on the practitioners. Our members worked tirelessly to get every last detail in place so that they could welcome students back safely to campus. To support our members, we worked to ensure the district had all the required safety measures in place. I want to acknowledge all of the efforts our members and other district staff engaged in to successfully welcome students back in this hybrid model. Thank you to everyone who contributed to getting us to where we are today. We know you put in countless hours and went above and beyond to make it happen. And now the guidance has changed yet again. It was announced on Saturday by the California Department of Public Health that inside classrooms, students only need 3 feet of physical distancing between each other. We are willing to meet with the district and engage in conversations regarding the updated guidelines from CDPH, as we have continued to do throughout this entire crisis. In return, we need time to once again work through the process to make any mutually agreed upon changes to meet these new guidelines. We are committed to providing our students with a quality and safe educational experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simmons. Do any of my colleagues have comments or questions? I'll just take a moment to say thanks to you and to your members as well. I think particularly, first, this whole last year has just been one change after the other. And I know particularly in preparation for the return to, in-person instruction, I saw folks over the weekend, well into the evening, prepping their classrooms and doing a ton of work to make sure that this week, succeeded. And we're halfway there. So I recognize, I'm not going to call it early. It's still just Tuesday. But this is just one of another instance of many where folks have put in a lot of hours, a lot of heart, a lot of time to make it work. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you very much for your time and for joining us. And as we have at every turn of this event, we will continue to move forward collaboratively. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Allen, do we have any other district organizations at this time?
We do not, President Villescaz.
Okay. With that, we are now at item E7, and there are no closed session actions to report at this time. So we are at item F, visitor comments. In a minute, Mr. Allen, I'll invite you to give instructions to those to participate, but I'll just take a moment to note that our board bylaws have time limits and that they're limited to 30 minutes in length. We'll go through the round of public comments, and if or when necessary, we'll bring it back to the board for discussion of waiving that 30-minute time if needed. Mr. Allen, at this time, can you please go ahead and give instructions to those in attendance via Zoom on how they can raise their hand if they have a comment at this time?
Certainly, President Villescaz. This item is an opportunity for those individuals attending the meeting to offer comment on topics that are not on tonight's agenda. If your comment is related to an item on tonight's agenda, we would ask that you hold your comment until that item is called, and public comment will be offered at that time. If you'd like to offer a comment on a topic that is not on tonight's agenda and have joined us on the Zoom environment, now would be your time to raise your hand. To do so, click the raise hand button found at the bottom of your screen on a mobile device, the bottom of the participant list, or the bottom of your screen on a desktop client, or by pressing *9 if you've dialed into the meeting tonight. And President Villescaz, we do have several hands raised at this point.
Okay, thank you. I would like to remind the public that comments are limited to 2 minutes. The clock on the screen will count down the time. Under the Ralph M. Brown Act, the board is not allowed to comment on items that are not on the agenda, so we're not ignoring your comments. We just can't respond to any individual comments. The superintendent can refer items to staff who can follow up with you. I'll invite you, Mr. Allen, to help us facilitate our public comment at this time.
I'd be happy to, President Villescaz. Our first comment will come from Ben Avey. Mr. Avey, when you are ready, sir.
Thank you, President Villescaz, members of the board. My kids, like most, were very excited when they got to go back to school on Monday. They are in cohort A. It was wonderful for them to see their friends, their teacher. I can't express just how great they felt. Unfortunately, there were a lot of kids that were not able to go back. They're the kids that have disappeared. They're the kids that are failing. They're the kids from working families who cannot afford to leave in the middle of the day for a 2-hour instructional period twice a week. We will never find equity for these students until we return to full in-person learning. And it is feasible. It is possible. We can do it if we choose to do it. Superintendent Kern's assumptions were based on the fact that 30% of students would not return to full in-person learning. His assumptions were based on teachers saying they would not return to in-person teaching. But the fact is, students and teachers have not been surveyed recently. They haven't been surveyed since the conditions have changed, since vaccines have been distributed. More people will come back. More people want to come back, and we can. The science says it's safe. Let's do it. Let's do it immediately. And let's do it with our labor partners. They've received raises. They've received vaccines. We have done what we need to do to empower them to return to in-person teaching. Let's just do it. And the fact is, let's call an emergency meeting to have this discussion on Friday. That's 72 hours notice for the Brown Act. We can have a full, impactful discussion with board members, with the superintendent, with parents to talk about the options on the table and talk about what works and what doesn't work so that we can return to in-person education full-time, 5 days a week. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
And thank you for your comment, Mr. Avey. Our next comment will come from Mr. Scott Rafferty. Mr. Rafferty, when you're ready, sir.
Good evening. 4 out of 5 of you live within 2 miles of where you are sitting now. We didn't know that a year and a half ago when we started to ask you to comply with the California Voting Rights Act. It wasn't about you. It was about empowering the Encino neighborhood, which endures some of the most segregated schools in the state. But it was bad news for you, and you made it all about you. You had your secret meetings. You decided it wasn't going to happen. You were going to be the first school district ever to beat this. And you fought it. It was so important for you that when we went into pandemic and the rest of us worried about our lives, you saw opportunity. You went to the governor You misled the governor about what the registrar could do. And you made it necessary for, and rather facilitated our demonstrating that you intentionally were violating minority voting rights. So the jig's up now. You had your 4 months delay. You filed your motion to get rid of the whole case, and you lost. It's up. You're going to have to answer the complaint. You're going to have to tell the truth, and we're going to go to trial. And the question is, when do you stop? When do you think about the district? When do you think about the integrity of our voting system? And how much money are you prepared to take out of the classroom to defend your illegal behavior? It's time to acknowledge that this lawsuit needs to end. You need to comply now and settle it. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment, Mr. Rafferty. Our next comment will be from Sonia Takanikos. Sonia, when you're ready.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, my name is Sonia Takanikos, and I'm a current teacher in this district, and my child is a junior at Del Campo High School. I first want to thank everybody for all their hard work behind the scenes. I am very grateful and very proud to be a San Juan employee. I'm speaking tonight because I am also a parent of a student athlete. San Juan Unified School District is all about equality or equity. And I'm having a difficult time understanding the equity in my following statement. My child's chosen sport is water polo and swim. We are the only league, Rio, Americano, El Camino, Del Campo, and Christian Brothers, that did not switch polo and swim season because of the oversight, which limits the games and meet experiences of these athletes. Whew, nervous. Recently, we received word that the parents could not watch water polo from the bleachers and must stand outside the fence area where the view is obstructed by the bleachers, the tarp racks, and pop-ups. Polo is allowed to have 3 parent volunteers run the clocks, fill out the stats, and produce the game logs. But the rest of the parents are forced to attempt to watch the game from outside the gates. The other night, our high school sent out an automated call broadcasting that parents from the football, basketball, and volleyball will be receiving up to 4 wristbands to attend the student athletes events. 2 of those sports are indoor, yet an outside sport, water polo. Parents are not allowed inside the gates. When I emailed the athletic director, the principal, their response was, "Sorry for the confusion. You can watch from outside the gate, and these are ticketed sports." We paid, we paid last year for the gate fees. At the very least, can we at least have the senior parents watch their children play? I am not a senior parent, by the way, but I'm speaking on behalf of senior
And I'm
parents.
going to have to ask you to wrap up your comments, please.
I'm done. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from Mr. Juan Inez. Juan, when you're ready, sir.
Good evening. I wanted to once again offer my strongest objection to your efforts to renege on your commitment to implement neighborhood or by district elections. The board first signaled its formal commitment to neighborhood elections in 2012. A Public Records Act request seeking information about this commitment has yielded nothing. The current board reaffirmed its commitment in March 2020, despite public statements to the contrary. You have done nothing to fulfill this commitment. A suit was filed in October 2020. Before and since then, you have hidden behind the COVID pandemic, though other districts have moved forward. You filed a frivolous motion to dismiss the case. The court rejected the motion in its entirety. Your motion needlessly caused a 4-month delay. Your delays resulted in an illegal election in November that cost at least $100,000 more than a special election would have. The district has claimed that a special election would cost $2 to $4 million. The county registrar estimated that it would cost no more than $100,000. You have used a risk pool for legal fees at a cost of $100,000 taken out of classrooms from other districts. Now that the money has run out, are you going to keep paying legal fees at the expense of our own children? I urge you to agendize this issue and call a consultative meeting of voters to start the process of implementing the California Voting Rights Act. We will not stop until 7 districts are fairly created. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from Shonda Doranovong, and I apologize if I did not get that last name correct. When you are ready.
Hello, school board. I'm speaking tonight to make you aware, if you are not already, that both the CDC and CDPH have officially updated their guidance that effectively allows K through 12 schools to open full time. The new guidance reflects the latest science on physical distance between students in the classroom to be 3 feet. And with this update, public schools can now accommodate more students safely in each classroom. This change renders the hybrid model less necessary. California schools will receive an infusion of cash like never before from recent state and federal relief bills. Yet, we are the worst in the nation when it comes to reopening schools, and much of the country has shown it can be done successfully. Our district also feels spending this relief money on one-time, off-schedule 1% bonuses for teachers is a better use than putting this money to work for our children to return full-time. I'm pleading with you, the school board, to go back to negotiations with the teachers union to demand that our children go back to full-time instruction within the next 2 weeks. It has been painfully obvious for the whole world to see that the unions have been openly sabotaging reopening plans. Union resistance isn't based on science or slowing the virus. It is about power politics. Students are currently getting 6 hours of instruction a week, down from 30 hours a week prior to the shutdown. That's a loss of 24 hours of instruction a week, and that is appalling. Us parents will continue to fight for our children, and we are asking you to do so too. The time is now, and the science is clear that returning to full-time instruction is our only option. We will not settle with the breadcrumbs of a hybrid model and expect you to do your job to restore hope in the lives of your youngest constituents. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from a call-in participant. And when you are ready. And there you go.
Hi, this is Magali Kincaid, and I'm a parent in the San Juan Unified School District. I, along with a group of other parents and community members, have been fighting to get the school district to update its antiquated and discriminatory method of elections and instead adopt neighborhood elections or trustee area elections. And we're also urging you to adopt a 7-member board to ensure our most struggling areas and schools have representation from their neighborhoods. We've been asking for this from the district for over a year now, and we've been asking them to do the right thing and hope that your recent legal loss will encourage you to stop spending student and taxpayer money in fighting to preserve the status quo. Equity is not a statement, but a practice. I urge you to begin to make concrete, equitable changes in the district by adopting neighborhood elections and adding 2 additional seats to the board. In addition, I'm extremely concerned about the continued cuts in the English language learner program, the most recent being a teacher on special assignment who trains and supports on EL strategies. How will our teachers and staff continue to get that support when you keep cutting? Again, equity is not a statement. They are actions, and these actions are speaking very loudly. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment. Ms. Kincaid, I have another user with the same name with their hand raised. Is that okay, perfect, thank you, appreciate that. And our next speaker will be Carolina Flores. Ms. Flores, when you're ready. And Ms. Flores, it looks like you are still on mute.
I want to be on mute. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Wonderful. I'm publicly announcing that your attempted demurrer court action to stop our California Voting Rights Act suit against you failed March 17th. The court found us to be justified in the racial polarized voting that you have practiced through the years. You have continuously acted against the good faith of this diverse community and kept yourselves in power. You have excluded citizens of color in this district from exercising their voting rights and seeking representation on this school board. On 1/13/2012, you did a unanimous ruling to the school board to change to single district elections. On 1/24/12, you voted to allot $49 million to this change to single district elections. Then you did nothing to change. I demand that you change to a 7-member school board in order to undo the decades of harm that you've done in denying representation to our diverse community. A 7-member board would assist electing diverse leadership to address the educational needs of Encina High School and San Juan High School students and families. You lost the demurrer. The judge ruled in our favor. We were found justified in defending our voting rights against you. You must now settle. You must pay the attorney fees that are minimal immediately. You must begin the process to change to a 7-member school board. And I ask that you put that on the agenda as soon as possible so that we can have this public discussion for a 7-member board. Stop ignoring us. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will be from Caroline Castaneda. When you are ready.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Caroline Castaneda, and thank you, board members and staff, for being here with us tonight. I am the parent of a Del Campo cheerleader, and on the topic of equity, I want to bring to the board's attention that at least at Del Campo, cheerleading is considered a club and not a sport. And what that means is that parents have to pay for uniforms and fees. Last year, that was over $1,000, and provide and pay for transportation to away games. And this is not a recipe for equity. I urge you to reclassify cheerleading as a sport. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from Tara Desiree Stevens. When you are ready.
Hi, thank you very much for taking my call. So while listening to the scoreboard tonight, this is my very first school board meeting, I heard lots of information about how you're going to support the parents and teachers at the schools and how you're going to get all the kids back in class. But there are many students out there and, teachers and parents that don't feel comfortable with going back to in-person schooling at this time, and they may not for some time yet. I know personally, I have a cousin in Del Campo. I currently live with him and his family, and we are an extremely high-risk household, and he is a special ed student, and at this time he is staying home. What supports are you going to give the teachers and the students that want to continue with the hybrid learning? Are they going to have that option if you do decide to go back to school full time? Because we are still considered in a pandemic, and this is important. So I just want to make sure that that is addressed as well.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from Krista Green. Krista, when you're ready.
Hello, and thank you so much, board members, President Vasquez, Superintendent Kearns. I just had a quick comment that I truly believe it's important that staff, parents, and our community should be aware of the layoffs and pink slips that are to come. Support staff and intervention specialists are receiving layoff notices in the next few weeks. Please understand that as a part of our school district's intervention team, our students need more than ever to have trusted staff on campus. The social and emotional needs of our students are at the top priority on our school campus. Bumping a staff member that has built relationships with students during this difficult time doesn't make any sense. Also, asking staff, parents, and community members to dig through a 260+ page report to find this information on page 250, I believe it was 8 or 256 page, doesn't make a sense. Board, I ask that you make what is happening to our support staff more transparent to our community and parents. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all your hard work.
And thank you for your comment. And President Villescaz, that was our last raised hand.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Allen. We, at this time, are now at item G, the consent calendar. Again, this is item G, our consent calendar. Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments for items that are on the consent calendar?
We have not had any comments submitted for items on the consent calendar. And of course, if you've joined us on the Zoom call tonight, would like to offer a comment specific to the consent calendar, now would be your opportunity to do so by raising your hand. Seeing no raised hands, President Villescaz.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Do any board members wish to remove any items from the consent calendar? Seeing none. Is there a motion to approve items G1 through G15? It's been moved by Ms. Costa and seconded by Mr. Hernandez. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye, that was unanimous. We are at our business items now. Business item I1, amending district graduation requirements for the class of 2021. Mr. Messer.
Good evening again, President Villescaz, members of the board, Superintendent Kern. I am here tonight with my colleague Susan Green somewhere out in space. Tonight, the superintendent is recommending the board discuss amending the district's graduation requirements for the class of 2021 by reducing those requirements to align with the minimum state of California graduation requirements due to the impact of COVID-19. As you know, over this last year, we have gone through an incredible change in our systems and experiences for our students during this pandemic. I would say over the last 8 years, my board presentations have all been grounded around equity, opportunity, and access for our students, working to revise our graduation requirements and raise them to provide those opportunities for our students to all have the opportunity to be college and career ready and UC, CSU, A through G aligned. And I never would have thought that there would come a day where we would have a conversation about making a shift in a different direction. But tonight I stand here along with my colleagues, not taking this lightly at all. I need to support our senior class this year. Our senior class that's gone through something that, you know, outside of our seniors from last spring have not gone through. So we know that, you know, school shut down back on March 13th a year ago. We came back April 10th to distance learning, which nobody understood. You know, we were hitting the ground running. Like you said tonight, President Villescaz, we've been in constant change. That's been the only consistency that we've known since then. Over that time, the state of California made changes to education. They changed to a no pass system last year. They made recommendations around the graduation requirements. Back in the spring and summer, they started to discuss AB 1350, which was to allow seniors to graduate who were on track to graduate as of March 13th of last year. So these conversations have been going on to help. We've been coming to you since the beginning of the year, even in a board presentation up to a month ago, sharing with you our programs of how we've been trying to support our students in terms of social emotional supports, attendance, and grades, creating new systems and opportunities for our students to, and especially our seniors, to stay on track or get on track for graduation. In December, we found at the end of the term, when we looked at the semester grades and term grades, that overall across the board for 9 through 12, there was a 10% increase in the failing rate of all of our students and very much even our seniors. And so we're here today to really have a conversation and get your feedback on the need to address and support these students. To ground the conversation, I've asked Susan Green to put some data together around graduation, and she's going to kind of take us through our data piece. Susan?
Thank you, Mr. Messer. We wanted to start looking at kind of the historical picture of our one-year graduation rate. So what happens to seniors? And we looked up for the last 3 years, And what you will notice is for the last 3 years, we have been relatively stable with about 90% of our seniors graduating. About 4% of them enroll in a 5th year. And actually last year, you'll notice in 1920, actually 6% enrolled in that 5th year. We have about 1% who earn a certificate of completion, which is our students with disabilities. And then we had about 3 to 5% of our students who just did not graduate and basically are considered dropout at that point in time. And what you'll notice is last year that was only about 3%. And that had a lot to do with a lot of our kids coming back for that 5th year. Next slide. So we wanted to take a look at our current class of 2021 and look at where are they right now. And so what we did is we looked at all of our seniors, what credits they had earned, what classes they have passed, what classes they're currently enrolled in, and thus could pass in this last term. Right now, we have about 78% of our seniors who are on track, meaning that if they pass their required courses that they're currently enrolled in, then they will graduate this spring. We have 22% who are not on track to graduate, meaning they're not enrolled in the courses that they need at this point in time because either are so deficient in credits or so deficient in required courses that they could graduate even if they pass everything this spring. We did look at it by groups also, and what you'll notice is that our African American, our low income, our students with disabilities, our Ever EL, and our Hispanic groups actually have between 26 and 40% of their students in the not on track to graduate category. So I'm going to turn this back over to Mr. Messer, who's going to talk about the proposal.
So looking at our data brought us to the conclusion through conversations that, again, we started months ago. We've been working on tracking our seniors from the beginning of the year. You know, through the data that Susan has shared with us, we've actually, each high school and their counseling teams have lists of seniors that have been at risk credit-wise that they've been working with since the beginning of the year. So we can actually put names next to these students. And although, as we look at this, from the name perspective, from each of the schools that our principals have been tracking and sharing with us, we have over 500, almost 550 seniors that are somewhat in this boat. And we, you know, depending on how we pull the reports, it can fluctuate a little bit, but still it's a substantial number of seniors that we're talking about. So what we've done, obviously, and some of these aren't new, but really we've highlighted to try to help these seniors as we've identified them is one, enroll them in our site-based credit recovery programs. Every high school, as you recall, is given 2 FTE, or excuse me, 2 sections at every high school for credit recovery for seniors. And that goes on year-round using Apex. So those students were enrolled in those courses. We've also had additional Apex courses added this year at our high schools in 0 periods, as well as after school. Our assets program at San Juan and Encina are being used in the same capacity to help kids. We also have students who've gone over to El Sereno just to take credit recovery. They stayed on their campus for their core classes, but are taking Apex to recover courses. And as we shared with you earlier in the year, we've started providing extended sessions to raise term and quarter grades before they became final. And those were our boot camps and our intersessions, and we're building off those. Our seniors will have the opportunity this year. Again, we're going to apply the extended year option. The first 7 days after school is out, we will be allowing students to continue their courses who are struggling, to help them cross that line to pass their courses. And we'll also have our regular seat-based and independent study summer school programs. So those will still be in effect for seniors if we continue that course. And finally, typically what we have in the fall is we have 5th year senior options. El Sereno is, for most of our general population students, we have the opportunity to go to El Sereno to finish courses if they're not on track at their high schools. But we do offer the 5th year option for our special ed students, for our English language learners, and other ways. And that we also have the opportunity to expand on that this year more into our general population as well, hopefully, to give students. And we also have our adult ed. So we have programs built in place, but again, it's going to be after the fact and still may take more time. I wanted to just share with you quickly what our current graduation requirements are. This is for the class of 21 and 22. that has been standard in our district for many years. Currently, in a traditional schedule and in our block schedule, our students have to complete 147.5 credits that are required for graduation. These are the core requirements: the math, the English, the science, the social studies, the VAPA or world language, the health, the PEs. We're at 147.5. At our traditional schools, the students would take an additional 72.5 credits to get to 220. And in our block, they take additional 132 elective credits on top of what they're required to do. So that's typically, this is our system currently in place. Our recommendation to adopt the California minimum requirements provides some reductions in those core classes. As you can see in yellow, at the state minimum, you only need 30 credits of English language arts versus 40. Health is not required. And we currently have a senior social studies elective that all seniors have to complete to pass or to graduate in our district as well. So you can see where the state requirements are less, but you can also see that the core educational courses are represented in these courses as well. What is lacking is all the electives that most students will need to graduate. So when we look at the potential impact of this proposed change, if we were to adopt the state minimum requirement for this class of 20 and 21, you can see that on track is in green, 78%. Those who could benefit from the change is in blue at 17%, and those not on track are at 5%. So could benefit from the change. The 78% are those students, those seniors that are on track. They have the, they're gonna, if they pass their government and econ classes and whatever the requirements, they will graduate. The blue are those students that are either struggling with the core classes that they need to recover from and or electives. Now, we can't help them with the core classes. That's the requirement for the state of California. They have to pass those 13 courses to graduate in the state of California at minimum. Where we're talking about making reductions is around the elective piece in this process. And so hopefully, as we take a look at this, that's really what we're trying to identify. So our recommendation is to reduce the graduation requirements for the class of 21 to align with the state minimum requirements with a minor adjustment, but our traditional schools, we would reduce to those 13 core courses. That is 130 credits, which is 60% of our required credits. And for our block schools, we'd reduce to 13, but we would ask for 160, so it's equivalent, about 60% of those block courses for those students to graduate. Our next steps in this process, based on this recommendation, is after board discussion and feedback, create a resolution and bring this back to you. We want to continue to explore revising Administrative Regulation 5121 that expands the window for teachers that change semester grades beyond 6 weeks after the end of the course. Currently, in our current AR, it says that at the end of the semester, a student has from that end date up into 6 weeks after for that teacher to make that grade change. We're exploring options to extend that to the following semester. We have opportunities where students continue to work and have the opportunity to show that they're meeting standards along the way, and then give teachers that opportunity to make that grade change. So that's something that's within our reach. We also are going to continue to monitor the class of 2022 and provide them opportunities for credit recovery as well. Right now, I mean, again, we're going to be building up for summer school to address those juniors, to make sure that we're getting those students are aware and prepared to do as much as we can over the summer to keep them up to speed. And then finally, monitor the class of 22, 23 as well, related on track graduation based on the new graduation requirements. And actually, I'm sorry, that should say 23, 24, because in 23 is our first graduating class of our new graduation requirements. So that's something that we'll continue to review and monitor and bring back to you as those dates get closer. So thank you, President Villasquez. We're available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Messer and team. Before we turn it to board questions and comments, Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments on this item at this time?
We do have two hands that are raised at this time, President Vasquez.
Okay, I'll invite you to facilitate public comment. Thank you. With a reminder that these are for item I1 and our next general comment is at agenda item L. Okay, you may go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, President Vasquez. Our first comment will come from user SA. SA, when you are ready.
Thank you. This is Judy Stevens. I'm not sure why it says SA, but it does. I am all for reducing the graduation requirements. These kids have gotten a rough deal. I actually am all for reducing it all the way to the students of 2024, because that's our freshman kids this year who, frankly, their year just got tanked. I'm so thrilled they're back in school. But when it comes to the graduation requirements, I am all for doing what you are proposing to do. I think it's only fair to our kids. And honestly, I don't understand why the school district requires any more than the state minimum anyway. I would love to see us put into place some maybe hands-on classes, some more of those type classes, rather than requiring more of some of these core classes. So yes, please go with your proposal. Please make it all the way to the students of 2024. I think it's only fair to these kids. They've gotten a really rough deal. And thank you for being even open to the proposal of this. I appreciate it. And the kids will appreciate it.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from Caroline Castaneda. Caroline, when you're ready.
Good evening, board members and staff. Thank you for that presentation. I did want to make a comment around what really stood out to me around the graduation rates for students with disabilities. We said that 1% of our students receive a certificate of completion. However, in some following slides, it was noted that 40% of students with disabilities are not on track to graduate. So I did not hear any strategies to support those students or students from low SES backgrounds, Black and Hispanic students who also showed some higher numbers than the average as far as not being on track to graduate. So I'd like to ask that you consider some strategies for those specific groups. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment. And President Vasquez, that was our last raised hand at this time.
Okay, thank you. Do any board members have questions or comments at this time? We'll go ahead and get started with Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you. Mr. Messer, the 550 seniors that we know that are there, we know who they are. My question to you is, how are we reaching out to those specific 550 on an individual basis?
Yes.
Do we have a program? And
Yes.
if so, what does that look like?
So typically what will happen at the beginning of the year, and it even starts in the registration their junior year, those seniors that are at risk or credit deficient, when they meet with their counselors, they specifically will meet to set up their schedules for their senior year around credit recovery options. So that's a process that takes place every spring. And since the beginning of this school year, each of the schools maintain, we've asked them to maintain a list of those seniors and to continue to update their progress as they go along. In some cases, some seniors have been very credit deficient, and in some cases, some have fallen behind, and more have added to the list. So it's been fluid, actually, in terms of how we go about it, but it's been very site-based. The counselors are responsible for their students, and they're reporting to their principals, and we're keeping that data so that we know who they are. So they're aware, and we're working with them. The parents are aware, and we're logging the information.
Ms. Costa?
Before I get to my questions, I just want to wish you well and to
Thank you.
tell you how sad I am to have you leave, that You have really always been responsive and provided so much information. And I am truly sorry that you're leaving, but I hope that I know that you will do amazing things in your new position. So thanks. In terms of questions, are there any districts in the area changing their graduation requirements?
Currently, Twin Rivers that we know of is the first that actually did a board resolution. Around the state, the conversations are taking place. We know Santa Rosa City Unified has changed theirs to 130. I know that Montebello, down south, another district.
Yeah, I think I sent Mr.
Yeah, you
Messer
just-
one
wait, I have
today.
it.
So
I'll get
we're
it
we're
now.
seeing it happen kind of as we get later in the year.
Yeah.
More and more districts.
Montebello, Unified in San Gabriel, Twin Rivers, Santa Rosa, that actually have published their changes. It's amazing. The conversations are happening. But in terms of the reporting, we're at the initial phases, I think, of everyone looking at this. And that's why we're bringing it to you now. We know that we have a quarter left to go, and we want to do our best for our seniors to finish strong. But we also want to be supportive to the fact of that there are issues and concerns with a lot of our students who are struggling.
I can't think of any, so I'm asking you, is there any downside to this for students in terms of?
Sure. So, I mean, I think initial question, if we were to come out and say, hey, we're going to reduce our graduation requirements, some seniors may just go, forget it, I can quit. Okay, that's a fair comment. How we bring this about and implement, I think, is a piece we need to follow up on so that our seniors do finish strong. Okay, so finishing strong means, typically to participate in graduation activities, you can't have Fs. You can't, we have a few things to look through. So I think just the concern would be how we implement so that we're actually supporting the students who we know are struggling the most. As you know, AB 1350, which we approved the AR last fall, 100 students, over 105 seniors, we were able to graduate after the fact who met the categories of being on track to graduate. So there's just so much out there that affect these grades, but we just have to make sure our plan to implement is going to be precise to make sure that we can satisfy the concerns that we don't want our kids giving up either at this point, but we want to make sure that we're taking care of our kids as well.
And on slide 8, when it says students could benefit, I guess.
Yeah.
What would be the reason they wouldn't benefit? They just didn't.
Those who couldn't benefit is if they did not pass those core requirements for graduation. So if they have not passed IM1, they wouldn't be able to graduate. Okay, so that as long as they finish their core classes and they finish their senior classes at this point, the required classes, those are the ones that are going to benefit from it. But if a student is missing any of those core classes, they still would not fall under this. We would be able then to, hopefully between now and the end of the school year, make sure they're in credit recovery for that course. Because we have a lot of students right now that are taking credit recovery elective courses just to make up credits.
Okay.
They're just trying to make up credits. And so if that's the case, we can shift them right now out of that and shift them back into that core class and go finish that class now. So we're on track.
I'm a little concerned because there are 48 more days of school. So starting tomorrow, 47 more days of school. How time sensitive is this? Because we have another board meeting in 3 weeks. Is that going to give staff enough time?
We're already pushing kids in this direction.
Okay.
And that's been, we've been pushing them in that direction anyways, making sure, but the overall burden is that they're taking core classes and elective classes at the same time.
Okay.
And sometimes what happens when they're doing our online learning is they can bust through the elective classes a lot faster than they can get through the core classes. And again, they're taking them for the second time, or some cases the third time. So what we have, when we monitor them, we don't want them loading up on electives. It's making sure they take care of that. And so this would help with that. eliminate.
Ms.
that stress.
Costa, I think as well, what it could also do is some kids that see that there might not be any hope at all will see that they have hope now. And I know that staff has already been moving in this direction, trying to keep kids motivated. So it will just reinforce the work that we've already been trying to support out at the schools.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Creason?
Thank you. A couple questions and a couple of statements. I just want to clarify for the public that this isn't the learning loss plan that we've been talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks. That's something completely different than that. Just wanted to verify that. I also wanted to ensure that folks understand what credit recovery really means and make sure that I understand. Once you get to credit recovery, it really is once you failed out of a class. So it really is a fail first system that we got going on. So my question, which I'm glad that, so let me back way up. Yes, I think that this is something I would support. I mean, it's really unfortunate, it's sad. I mean, we do have the standards that we have, so our kids are better prepared for career and whatever post-secondary looks like for them. But to penalize them over a pandemic, it just isn't fair. That said, I'm wondering a couple of things. I'm wondering, can we offer beyond just the credit recovery? What supports are we going to be able to provide our kids post-graduation? Say they recover their credits, right? But they're really, still behind, and that's not just our seniors, that's like all of our kids. So I'm just wondering, can we support them post-graduation for the next thing? I know that's the conversation in higher ed space, with community colleges, what kind of developmental, what can they do? Because we know everyone's going to be behind, but still push them along their program and support them in that way. So I'm wondering, what can we do? And I don't really expect you to answer that, if you can't, but what can we do as well to support them in the moment? And then I wonder, is there tutoring available? Like, what can we do before we get to that fail first? And with 48 days, I don't know how much can be done, but maybe some kids can be saved from having to go down that road.
Sure. In the fail first, trying to prevent that process is what we shared with you at the last board presentation. The things that we've been doing all year, trying to enhance tutoring opportunities, trying to engage the students who we know are struggling in different ways. But it's still been in this virtual learning and just distance learning, it's been difficult to connect with them. And to Superintendent Kern's point, it's hard to counter a loss of hope. And right now we can't bet on hope. And this is an opportunity for us to re-engage students who may be there already. We continue to work with our students and even our students that are in this situation, because even if in a typical year, even if they weren't passing, we're working with them to get them into the next step to graduate with the programs what I shared with you. Either get them to El Sereno for their 5th year, get them to Adult Ed to finish either through that process, and or getting them enrolled into community college. They can enroll in community college without graduating from high school. So there's still all of these steps that our counselors are working with our seniors on, so that we're not just giving up on them because they're failing. So.
Understood. Well, I appreciate the effort. Again, it's really unfortunate, but I would support, doing whatever we need to do so that we're not holding them back when the state doesn't require us to do that. But again, just want to reiterate, whatever supports beyond just, and I know that we've been doing a lot, and I know that there's learning loss plans that are in process, but whatever we could do to support them in the moment and afterwards, so they really have what they need to do whatever's next, would be awesome.
Thank you.
Dr. McKibben.
First of all, I want to say congratulations on your new position.
Thank you.
Being one of the few staff members that had the inclination and the correct thing to say to a person, particularly when we were on curriculum instruction, you were wrong, and you were usually right when you said I was wrong. I want to say, I'm not going to miss you.
Those were good times, Dr. McKibben.
Yes.
Those were good times.
So there are some things that I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to look at slides 3, 4, and 5 in terms of graduation.
Yeah.
Do those people that graduate in the 5th year actually get counted in our graduation statistics?
Susan, you want to follow up with that?
Sure. There's actually, no, they do not get counted in what's called a 4-year cohort graduation, but they do get counted for a 5th-year cohort graduation. So it kind of depends on what number we are looking at. The number we presented tonight is actually a 1-year graduation rate, just says who are our seniors and if they graduate. And that's kind of where we are on that one.
Okay, all right. But that, you answered the way I thought you were. My second question relates to certificate of completion, and this is, and so forth. To the extent to which the modifications that you are working on affect those who will get a certificate of completion, how are they affected by these kinds of changes?
And again, Susan, you can help me with that, but I can just share with you that typically my background knowledge of special education is based on the IEPs that the student, that's created for every student. There's a process along their high school career where they make that decision as part of the IEP process, which pathway that student's going to take. So, and again, when we break up our different, student groups of our students with disabilities, our severely challenged students may be more on that track, that certificate of completion, more likely than any of our resource students would be. But again, it's in the IEP process, decisions that are made, which track that goes into. So those that stay on the graduation track completely are going to be supported by this.
Okay, it looks like I was seeing Susan nod. I was seeing whether she was going to add to that or not. No? Okay. In terms, let's go to slide number 10. And related, for those people that get the 6 weeks notion and so forth, and that happens in the summer, those places where the teachers change the grade and allow them, quote, to graduate, those students would not walk, right?
Typically not if it were the end of the semester, the senior year.
Okay.
That's directly a possibility, but where we're seeing, I'll give you some examples of this, and I'll give you an APIB example. A colleague of ours that teaches calculus at Mariloma. He has a policy that basically if a student scores 5 on the AP Calc test, if the student in that first semester didn't have an A, he'd be willing to raise that grade to an A because of the student demonstrated their proficiency. And so he and I have had conversations for years around our AR and is a complete supporter of us moving in that direction. That's an example of it as well. But what we really are looking for in this AR possibility is that giving the students more time to demonstrate their mastery of a subject or a content area standards after that semester grade ends. And again, it's a changing of mindset, working with our teachers and working with our students to really extend the learning period and not have these deadlines, arbitrary deadlines that we have called semester dates or term end dates that give those grades so that kids, can have some motivation to continue their learning if given that opportunity.
Yeah, okay. In the curriculum instruction committee, you said all of the things that you were changing were electives. Tonight you said almost all. Well, which one was right?
Well, the almost would be that the 3 years of English.
Okay, the 3 years of
English. That
English.
is the one piece that we don't have control over.
So the 17.5 things that are in the required things like the 10 in English, the 5 in health, and I can't remember what the other 2.5 was, but those sort of things, those are all requirements, but
of our district.
You could not do those under this.
Yes.
This proposal.
Right.
Those requirements.
Right.
How about those high schools that have senior projects?
We could include those in waiving.
Are they still required for graduation?
Well, our senior project would be a CASA So that could be something that we would have to.
So the
bring
answer
back.
at CASA would be yes.
Yes.
And I think there are a couple of others where it would be
So-
yes. Okay. And so you said that 25% of the students were not on track. And we're reducing the electives. I believe that's what you said. Help me if I'm, it's another time you get to
22%.
correct me if I'm wrong.
22%.
Okay. But for those, of that 25% that are, or your 20, whatever it was, percent, how many of those are not on track because of required courses rather than electives?
Susan, can you help me with that one? Because I know our deeper data dive.
Yeah, so when we look at it, it's the required courses. About 10% of those are because of English.
Okay.
And then there's another percent, and then there's a percent of students that have multiple reasons why currently that they would not meet graduation requirements, like they have not yet passed 4 years of English and they also don't have the 2 years of math. And so there's about another probably 5% that are multiple, and then the remainder students are mainly just credit deficient, meaning just the number of credits they have don't equal what they need to graduate. Meaning what is the graduation record? They don't have the 220 total credits. So it's mainly elective credit across the board.
Thank you both very much. If there is a year that we need to be flexible, this certainly is the year. And I think that even with this, I think that you've done it in a very sensible way, and that maintains a certain sensible rigor. And so congratulations to you on being, as this district is a district of choice, it's also a district of common sense, and this is part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. McKibben, and thank you to staff for the presentation. It's already been discussed in part, but I want to be pretty clear that, right, this change in graduation isn't in graduation requirements. It's not in the aggregate. It's not an aggregate number. It is very specific to a highlighted cross-section here of coursework, correct?
Yeah.
How do we plan to communicate that? Because my one concern is walking away from this meeting and folks saying, oh, you just got to get to 1:30, doesn't matter. And there being a lot of kind of chaos and confusion. So can you maybe go over that piece a little bit on how we're communicating to students and families?
So, based on the direction of the board going forward, that is our initial plan is now, how do we communicate this out? We've had communications with principals. We've had this communication with counselors, getting feedback. But ultimately, before we took it out to the parents, we wanted to make sure we were going down the right path. And so basically, we will create a communication plan that will identify these seniors that we're talking about, very similar to what we did with AB 1350. We basically put together the list of the students that qualified, and then we reached out to them directly to have communications. We actually, I think, identified almost 130 students initially, and out of that, really only 105 actually responded and took us up on that opportunity to graduate. So we're still at those schools trying to get in touch with those people. So we would be more prescribed at the students we're trying to get to at each site. So it's really hopefully not an overall, we definitely want to be prescriptive to who we're dealing with. We do know many of the students who we're talking about right now, and we want to support them. But as we said before in this communication, we don't want to create this sense that, hey, throw up the papers, this is over. For our seniors at this point. That's not the direction we want to go either.
Great. No, I appreciate you bringing this to the board at this time in particular. Actually, initially, prior to this discussion, had some concerns that it was perhaps a little bit too early. But when you start talking about kind of the timelines and where folks can shift to address it in a meaningful way, I am less concerned about that. And I think at the end of the day, I'm supportive, and it's not something that I support lightly, but if we can, again, it goes back to offering hope. And if we can offer some of our seniors some hope and not add to the long list of things I'm sure that this pandemic has taken away, then I am supportive. My only additional question is just in terms of next steps, right? It's recommended to return for action, and I just wanted to clarify on kind of the intent of what would be brought back forward. Would it just be for action the kind of credit table, or at that point, do you anticipate having something around AR 5121, or does other staff have something, anticipate having something ready to go on that expanded window? I have a couple more questions on the expanded window. Is it mostly retroactive, or are we talking about kind of extending into the summer? Because I would.
I'm going to be completely honest with you on this policy. It's been loosely followed. We have given our teachers the opportunity to make decisions for their students that may have gone outside that window. And we have some that are uncomfortable, but we want to formalize this process by updating our AR to show our commitment to it. So it's not going to hinder the process, and the AR will come back to cabinet basically for approval to change the AR. So, but it's soon as we go through this process as well.
Is there a time frame on these classes? Is it just the ones taken this year? Is it just the one taken this quarter, this semester?
No, well, ultimately it would be from the start of the school year, the fall semester grades, right? Giving students, and we've been having through this process of creating our boot camps and our intersessions, we've been practicing this in a pilot kind of process right now, ongoing. We had some intersessions planned during the February break where some of the schools offered kids to continue to learn with their teachers to raise their grades. We did it after Christmas break, and we're going to continue to practice it at the end of the semester. But what the recommendation is going to be is to allow the following semester of that class. So almost like the completion of the entire class. So the teacher has the ability to make that change in the first semester or first term grades is really what we're looking for in this process.
There could also be a shift when we think about the utilization of Apex for credit recovery, that if a student knew at this point in time, like they didn't, okay, now I can focus on maybe my third year of English, when they were worried about possibly passing a certain elective or something else, that could allow that shift to take place. Because as Rick mentioned, those students that are taking the Apex, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be a full quarter. They can get through some of those. So that's where it's going to benefit as well. And I think if I was back at a school and I put on my counselor hat, I'm meeting with these kids, we've already got an identified list of students. Now we even have more of a targeted approach as we're meeting with these students to say, these are the supports, these are the actions you can take place between the first week in April until the end of the school year so that you have an opportunity to graduate.
Appreciate that additional context. And then my last comment is just around, in terms of future classes, I hope and anticipate that the discussion continues to be around how do we best support those students moving forward. I mean, I have no doubt that there will continue to be an impact, but just, wanted to kind of clearly state, and I know that we will be continuing to offer significant support for those classes as well. And finally, I just want to thank you again for your service and wish you well in your next endeavor.
And I again, thank all of you. It's been a pleasure serving on the superintendent's cabinet with Mr. Kern and my fellow colleagues and serving under you. It's been a pleasure. Incredible opportunity. And I'm excited about my future, but I'm very sad about walking away from what's been my home for 12 years. And it's been a great experience. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Messer. This item is scheduled to return for action on April 13th. So we are now at item I2, instructional material adoption. Yes, did I skip? Sorry. Sure. So there's a request that it come back on consent. I would say I would prefer a vote on it, but I don't know how my colleagues feel, but I think, okay, I think we'll go ahead and take action on it. Ms. Schnepp, please begin on item I2 when you're ready.
Good evening, President Villescaz, members of the board, Mr. Kern. Tonight, we are bringing forward some instructional materials, and I just want to remind everyone that due to school closures at the end of 2020, we had to put a pin in our instructional materials adoptions due to the uncertainty of our economic situation. In January, we brought forward our elementary science adoption, and we were able to get our materials approved, so our elementary teachers were able to use those materials in distance learning. Tonight, we're bringing forward a few small adoptions, and these are going to be in response to some of our AP materials that are outside of the 10-year commitment that we make with our AP courses. The materials have to be no more than 10 years old. So tonight, some of the materials we're bringing forward are due to the issue with those 10 years. So joining me tonight are going to be Nicole Kukral and Paula Baucom virtually, who are our program specialists who ran these small adoptions virtually for the most part, and they will be sharing with you the process we use, and they'll be sharing the report too. So first up, we will have Nicole Kukral talking about what constitutes a small adoption.
Thank you. We're really pleased tonight to bring to you our adoptions, our course material adoptions. As Ms. Schnepp said, these are small adoptions, which means that they didn't follow the 2-cycle process with a full pilot in classrooms. We do this really for 3 reasons. Number one, either the courses are offered in a very limited scope, so they're only offered at a few schools. Number 2, there are limited materials options. And number 3, the overall order will be generally really small in size compared to our larger adoptions. And of course, all of these adoptions fit at least one of those criteria. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Our selection criteria that we use for our adoptions is pretty standard. You've probably seen this list before. This is a very general list of the categories that we use to evaluate instructional materials that's aligned to our frameworks. You can see a detailed rubric in your report twos. For our social studies adoptions, we used a very general version of this. And then of course, Paula will talk a little bit later about how she customized it for science. Go ahead and go to the next slide. The current reports that you'll be looking at tonight, as you can see, are several selections for AP and IB science. We've got a couple of AP social studies and IB social studies, and also geography moving forward tonight for discussion. Go ahead. Oh, you can go to the next slide. Yep. Oh, yes, that's great. Thank you. We're going to start with the social sciences. This is our timeline. As Ms. Schnepp mentioned, this actually began last year. So for our social sciences adoptions, we initiated the entire process last year, got to the recommendation stage, and then immediately before we were going to take these to curriculum and standards for their review, our schools closed and we postponed these adoptions due to the budget uncertainty. For these small adoptions, the process you can see on the screen, we really start by making sure that our teachers can access samples of those materials and engage in an independent review of them over a period of time. While teachers are engaged in that process, we collect community feedback through a variety of means. And then once our teachers have adequate time to review those materials, we bring the publishers in so that our teachers have an opportunity to engage with them and ask them further questions to really understand what they're getting and ask questions about the content or other support materials. And then finally, after that occurs, there's a recommendation. And so we're bringing you those recommendations tonight that our teachers, our committees made approximately a year ago. Go ahead. We can go to the next slide. Oh, one more back, I think. Okay, thank you. The total cost for all of the social sciences adoptions you can see here is just under $89,000. So these are relatively small, very small. And because this impacts just a few teachers district-wide, we often will just work with the publishers to make sure that our teachers get the support that they need. So there's no large-scale professional learning that will happen with these, but we do make sure that those teachers feel supported. And at this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Paula Baucom.
Thank you. And so for the sciences, we followed much the same process as Nicole explained for her adoptions, with the difference that we started our process this fall. So we actually requested samples from the publishers this fall. We had them sent to teachers' homes. And then we had our introduction meetings just starting in January. Teachers had several months to have their independent review with the materials, which I'll talk about. We made it virtual next. And then we went through the process of community feedback through a digital process, et cetera. So the way that we made it virtual was we created what we're calling course hyperdocs, which is essentially just a Google Doc that we put all the information that teachers needed, including digital logins, opportunities to have the shared note-taking space where they all could see what they were including as far as gathering evidence with the rubrics. So we actually used our rubrics as part of our shared note-taking space. And once teachers started their reviews and were able to document evidence, we brought in the publishers for questions and answers and an overview to explain anything that wasn't clear. We did provide an opportunity for the community to have input and feedback through a digital review. And then finally, we came to consensus in March to make recommendations for each of the courses. And we did blend the AP and IB course adoptions together as far as, because the IB, there's only one IB school being Mira Loma. So we did absorb them into our discussions. And as you see from the materials that were selected, the IB courses also selected the same materials for recommendation as the AP courses did. And as you can see from the costs, it is just under $366,000. And much like Nicole explained, the professional learning is really done on an individual basis because of the small numbers of teachers who teach these courses. So with that, if you want to go to the next slide, we would entertain any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I will turn it to, oh, hang on. I am going to see Mr. Allen. Do we have any public comments on this item?
We have not had any submitted, and at this time, we would invite you to raise your hand if you're joining us on the Zoom call and would like to offer a comment on this specific item. And seeing no raised hands at this time, President Villescaz.
Thank you. Do any board members have questions or comments at this time? Start with Ms. Creason and move my way to my right.
Thank you for the report, and just want to reiterate something that was brought up during the committee reports, is that this adoption was unanimously approved by the Curriculum and Standards Committee. Can you confirm that?
Yes.
And just for the public, that is our stakeholder committee. That is where the community, parents, others can be a part of the process. And that was unanimously approved, which I'm happy to hear. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Dr. McKibben.
I have 4 questions.
Okay.
You know what the first one relates to the geography adoption here was the only one that wasn't an AP adoption. Was there some specific reason why geography was being adopted in this set of things, or is it just
So
unusual?
we do our adoptions on our 7-year matrix. And so this was the year that geography was up for the adoption process. So this naturally landed, and we felt that it was appropriate to move forward.
Okay. My second question is one that was raised by the members of the Curriculum and Standards thing, and it has been raised in past years as well. And that is particularly for the AP courses here. We notice that in most cases, as you and Rick and many other people trying to expand the number of AP courses in all of our schools, we notice in these small adoptions, once again, that most of the courses, at least the people who are reviewing the courses, are from usually 3 high schools.
Right.
And And usually these three high schools are not the ones that traditionally have, are the ones that have a lot of AP courses and a lot of opportunities for AP courses. What is the possibility and what are the kinds of methods that are used by staff to expand the use of these kinds of courses that are in this kind of adoption to all of the high schools?
We've talked about student interest really driving our master schedules. And this is a case where, especially with these smaller adoptions and these smaller courses, there is not as much student interest typically at our smaller high schools. In addition, they don't have the staffing to provide as many options. So at the smaller schools, they really have to think about the high leverage, high impact AP courses that more students will enroll in. And so there's the tension between creating more AP opportunity and also having the staffing to support that at our smaller schools.
I think we've had this conversation for a long time, and I will say this, we're never going to have all courses at all schools. It will not happen. And it's based on student interest. Because if I have 10 kids at a school that want something, I can't run that because as Kristen said, I don't have the staffing. I think one of the things that could come out of COVID and virtual learning is an opportunity for a teacher to teach a course virtually. And this is something I think we could even consider piloting in the next couple of years, even using some of the one-time funds. So let's say that we give school X one period for the teacher to teach a virtual class to students throughout the rest of the district. And we try and create a section that way. So that's a way that we could do it. Even in talking to my student groups, one of the things that they were interested about this summer was how could we take courses that aren't offered at our school at another school during the summer. So I think those are some things that we're going to look into and maybe we've learned through this. But again, I even know when I was a principal at Carnegie and I started to build my media program, that meant it first started with 2 periods and it started getting more and more and more popular. Well, when it grew to 4 periods, that was 2 other elective periods I had to take away from something else. And so really a lot of our programs that grow and thrive are interest-based, but I do see there's an opportunity there in the coming years to kind of make some adjustments.
Exactly. If there's anything, we are looking for things to come out of this year. I think that would be a very, very good gain that we could have out of this experience. And I think there are some courses there, like the environmental courses and that sort of thing, that look like they have some real potential across things. My third question is fairly frivolous. Why is physics 1 and 2?
I'm going to defer to Paula Baucom to answer that question.
That's how the College Board has organized the course. So it's organized into 2 separate courses because of the vastness of the content that's included.
Is this 2 years or 2?
It's 2 years. So Physics 1 is 1-year course, and then Physics 2 is a 2nd-year course.
Do we teach in this district physics as a 2-year course?
Yes, we have 2 of our high schools that do offer Physics 1 and 2. And then Mira Loma also offers an IB version of that course that covers the same content in essentially 1 year. So yes.
Didn't know that. Thank you. All right. And my last question relates to the combination of IB and AP looking at and using the same text. Is that the first time we've done that? I don't remember that before. I thought that was interesting and novel.
Yeah.
For various courses, yes, not in our past adoption, but it really depends on what is chosen. They do have some specific IB textbooks, but in really working with the IB teachers that teach these courses, they felt that the AP courses or the text chosen for the AP courses would fit the needs of their courses as well. So. Yeah, it's nice because we'll have a greater opportunity for collaboration and support across the district using those materials.
And do the IB students take AP tests as a result of this?
They take IB tests, so it's a different framework. So they do take an exam at the end of the courses, but it's based on the interbaccalaureate framework.
But the AP test could give them college credit. Does the IB give them college credit also?
Yes, I believe it does.
Wouldn't need to take the AP test.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. This is good stuff. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. McKibben, and I can confirm that you do get college credit for the IB classes because I wiggled out a solid 2 semesters for my IB courses at Cal. So thankful for that. I am going to take a moment, though, to kind of get past my PTSD around IB physics and wish the students in that curriculum well. I am also thrilled to see the environmental science and environmental systems and societies crossover, though. I think that'll be exciting, and the more collaboration across staff, I think, the better. Thank you very much to staff for the presentation. The item is scheduled to return for action on April 13th, although this might be a consent candidate. I'll take a look at my colleagues. How do we feel about that? Looks like there's general concurrence on that, so we will bring this back as a consent item on April 13th.
And I'm going to ask Ms. Balcom to stay with me for our next item, for item I3 as well.
Absolutely. With that, we are at item I3, new high school courses. Ms. Schnepp and company.
I want to just remind you, as Ms. Morgan said in her committee report, typically this is one of my favorite times to present to the board. It's our opportunity to share with you some of the innovative and exciting opportunities that our students have, especially around the new graduation requirements. And as we know, we are not in a typical school year. So, and furthermore, to create new courses, it is a heavy lift for our staff and for our teachers. And so, you know, we unanimously decided that this year we needed to pause on writing new courses and just support our teachers with the work at hand. However, we did need to bring forward 3 courses that are specifically tied to our MYP program at Mariloma, and Paula is going to talk us through the reason why we need to review these 3 courses. She also has with her the 3 teachers from Mariloma, Mr. Hill, Mr. Martinez, and Miss Jax, I believe it is, Paula. And they've stayed on all night. So I just want to thank them for sticking with us so that they can answer any questions. And I'll now turn it over to Paula.
Thank you. Tonight we have 3 courses for your consideration. These are actually not new courses, but they've been part of the IB Science Pathway at Mariloma. These 3 courses are part of the Middle Years Program, or MYP pathway. While other MYP courses in subject areas at Mariloma have been submitted over the years, the science department used the district-wide honors biology, chemistry, and physics course titles that were used across the district. With the transition to our new NGSS high school science courses approved last spring by the board, the prior course titles will no longer be available for use. So as a result, it became apparent that the MYP science courses needed to be submitted for official course approval. While similar in scope to our district-approved NGSS honors courses, the MYP course outlines provide alignment with the scope, sequence, and philosophy that as outlined by the International Baccalaureate Program. We do have the 3 Mariloma teachers who submitted these courses for your approval if you have any questions.
And this is a discussion item tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments on this item?
We've not had any comments submitted, and we would, of course, invite those who are with us on Zoom. If you'd like to offer a comment specific to these 3 courses that are being considered, now would be the time to do so by raising your hand using that button at the bottom of your screen. And I do show 1 hand that is raised currently.
Okay, please proceed with public comment for item I3, new high school courses.
Thank you, President Villescaz. Our first comment then will come from Jennifer Baker. Ms. Baker, when you're ready. And Ms. Baker, looks like you are still on mute. Ms. Baker, you are still on mute. It looks like you may be either having technical difficulties or perhaps did not intend to raise your hand. I would invite you to, if you would like to offer a comment, join us for the public comment session at the end of the meeting as well. That is the only hand that is currently raised, President Villescaz.
Thanks, Mr. Allen. Do any of my colleagues have questions or comments at this time on this item? Dr. McKibben?
This is, again, relatively, why is this called the middle years program?
Paula, would you like to answer that, or would you like one of the Maryland?
I'm going to defer to Ms. Rochelle Jacks to answer that question if she's able to do so.
Hi, Paula. Hi, everyone. My name is Rochelle Jacks. I'm a biology teacher at Mariloma High School. I teach MYP biology as well as IB biology. The middle years program is, it begins in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And continues into the 9th and 10th grade of high school as part of the IB continuum. So it's the middle years, whereas the PYP program is the primary years program for elementary students. So the middle years program has its own curriculum, as Paula said, sequence and scope, according to the IB philosophy and framework. So MYP biology is essentially preparation for the upper level IB science classes.
So 11th and 12th is called upper level then? Or what is it?
It's called the diploma level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, team, for bringing this forward. And thank you as well for staff for hanging out. I probably would have saved my physics clip earlier if I'd known that staff was still around. Miss Carison is raising her hand. Thank you for following directions.
And then I followed directions. I apologize.
Go
Just
ahead.
a quick question is, I could see from the cover sheet that it went to curriculum and standards. Can you share what the action was there?
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none. This item is scheduled to return for action on April 13th. Everyone okay with it being, my colleagues have requested that it be a consent item. Seeing no opposition to that, we will bring it back on consent for April 13th. And thank you very much. With that, we are at item I4, notice of intent to convey easement at Woodland K-8 school. Mr. Camarda, please begin when you're ready.
Good evening, and thank you, President Villescaz, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. Tonight's facilities item is an action item, is the intent to convey an easement at Woodside K-8 school. It is the superintendent's recommendation to adopt board resolution number 3038, declaring the intent to convey a permanent easement at Woodside K-8 school to the city of Citrus Heights, and to call a public hearing to be held on April 13th, 2021. I'm available to take any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Mr. Camarda. Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments on this item?
We have not had any comments submitted for this item, and now would be your time, if you have joined us on Zoom, to click that raise hand button. And seeing no raised hands at this time, President Villescaz.
Do any board members have questions or comments? Dr. McKibben.
In looking at the map there, I couldn't tell how wide the easement was. I tried to do the math, but as I said earlier, I'm not confident in my math skills. Was it approximately 35 feet from the edge of the property that's being taken for the track?
You are correct, yes.
And
You're correct in your calculation, Dr. McKibben, yes.
Groundhog finds an acorn every once in a while. Does that change the fencing at the school?
It does not. It leaves the fencing in place and it just operates within, it's already a trail right now, but this is going to grant it to the city of Citrus Heights. They're going to be modifying the trail, laying down asphalt. And what this does, it's paved. And it also provides the city of Citrus Heights the opportunity to maintain that at a more regular maintenance intervals.
So the fencing stays on the street side or it stays on the school side?
It stays on both. There's two fences, one on the school side and one on the street side. So
already
both stay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seeing no further comments or questions at this time, this is an action item. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 3038, declaring the intent to convey a permanent easement at Woodside K-8 school to the city of Citrus Heights and call a public hearing on April 13th?
So moved.
It's been moved by Dr. McKibben. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Mr. Hernandez. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. We will see you again on the 13th. Thank you, Mr. Camarda.
Thank you, board members.
With that, we are at item J, board reports. I'll just go in order to make sure I don't miss anyone. Mr. Hernandez, do you have a board report?
Was able to visit Del Dale on the first day of school, and it was just great to walk down the hall to see each classroom and see children singing with their teachers. It was amazing. And secondly, in that same day, I was able to tour the CTE building at Del Campo. And Mr. Cremard and I actually gave Director Dr. Gould from Sac Metro Fire a tour, and he was blown away with what he saw at the Fire Academy. And it's very impressive. And I've encouraged you guys to, when you get a chance, to go visit that CTE and to hear the comments. Dr. Gould also is a professor at American River College and specializes in the state and at the federal level, the importance of CTE. And so to see him see what we're trying to do with our CTA at our various campuses was very fulfilling. So just wanted to share with you guys that.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Ms. Costa.
I just want to thank my colleague, Dr. McKibben. I had a pretty severe reaction to my second vaccination, and he covered curriculum and standards on very short notice. So thank you so much for doing that. It really is great when colleagues can step in. So thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Costa. Ms. Creason.
Just quickly want to share, I've been spending the last couple of weeks continuing to talk to stakeholders and visit PTO meetings. I'm happy to continue to do that. I was really sorry I wasn't able to visit a school yesterday or today, but I look forward to being back on campus.
Thank you, Ms. Creason. Dr. McKibben.
I want to thank Ms. Costa for being sick. She happens to be sick on the best curriculum meeting of the year, where you see these teachers talk about these subjects they love, and they just exude the kinds of confidence and the kinds of things they expect of their students. So thank you for being sick. Now on to the ones I have. I had the opportunity to go to the Family Leadership Academy a couple of weeks ago. There were 62 graduates of the academy, many of them immigrants and so forth. And it was done in a kind of a drive-in theater model. But the coolest thing for me is, and first for me, was the speech that I gave that was way too long, was translated into Arabic. And it was kind of cool to hear what you said, in another language. And I thought that was a first for me. So, but the people that graduated from this sort of thing, just wanted to know about our district and could indeed become very much the kinds of people who are leaders, the people that we appoint to various committees and so forth. So it was a great opportunity for me. And I wanted to thank all those people that stepped up. I think it's the largest class that we've had in some time, if not ever, and so forth. The second thing I wanted to mention was that this week I had the opportunity through California School Boards Association to be part of their legislative action. This year was week as opposed to normally day because it was all done online, and had the opportunity to talk to the 5 legislators that touched our district and so forth. And wanted to thank them and their staffs and that sort of thing for listening to us, for seeking out our advice and so forth. And it was, I think, an important thing for us to continue to do as a board. And finally, the third thing, the highlight of my week was at Grand Oaks, watching those kids come back. And I watched the kindergartners and the first graders, and I've never seen a happier group of kids standing on their spots. Now they have to change their spots to 3 feet rather than 6 feet and so forth. But it was, the joy was just amazing.
Thank you, Dr. McKibben. And I'll actually take the moment to note that the change in guidance still has 6 feet requirements through passing periods and other areas. So all of the time that I know went into putting paw prints and eagle wings and unicorns on and dragons on the pavement, not in vain. I just wanted to take a moment for my bird report to say thanks. I know that I acknowledged our certificated staff after Mr. Simmons' report, but want to just make sure to acknowledge really the whole team, our classified employees, our bus drivers. You know, this has not been easy for anyone, and to get to a point on Monday where we could begin to welcome students back. It was a huge team effort with a lot of time and sacrifice from so many, from all of our partners. And as was stated earlier, we'll continue to move forward in a collaborative fashion. With that, we are at item K, future agenda items. Do any board members wish to add any items to the future agenda at this time? I'm gonna do one last pass. Okay. With that, we are at item L, visitor comments. Mr. Allen, are there any visitor comments at this time?
We do have 2 hands raised with us on Zoom at this time, President Vasquez.
Okay, I would like to remind the public that comments are limited to 2 minutes. Under the Ralph M. Brown Act, the board is not allowed to comment on items that are not on the agenda. So we're not ignoring your comments. We just can't respond to any individual comments. The superintendent can refer items to staff who will follow up with you. Mr. Allen, I'll invite you to facilitate our second segment of visitor comments at this time.
Thank you, President Vasquez. Our first comment will come from Shalimar Commons. When you are ready. And it does look like you are still on mute. We will come back and give you another try in just a moment and move on to user SA, who I believe is actually JS.
Thank you. Yes. I really appreciate the kids getting back to school this week. The pivot of them going from not going back to suddenly going back at the high school level was a shock, but a good shock. We were thrilled to do it. And I had to really adjust my life, as did most parents, to go from being at home every day, all day long, to taking my kiddo to school 2 days a week for just a couple hours. So I very much appreciate that. And my child appreciated that. The teachers were quite welcoming, and that was wonderful to see. And there were a number of jokes about, did they want to turn their camera off? It was great to see people with their cameras on, which I thought was great because that was rough, having the cameras off. I do want our kids back in school 5 days a week, full time. I don't think I'm alone in that. I think there's a lot of us in that. I think if we're following the science, our kids should have been back. Waivers should have been signed in the fall, yada, yada, yada. We've had this conversation every time we've had a board meeting, so I won't go back over it. But our kids need to be back in school 5 days a week, full time. I'm not sure why 4 days versus 5 days is such a difference. But I would really like to see it placed on the agenda, getting our kids back in school full time. That said, thank you to everyone district-wide, not just our school at Casa Roble. I know it was rough on staff. It had to have been rough on staff to make that pivot. So I thank everyone who did make it a good day for all the kids. And just that we were all able to get them back in school and we're up and running, and hopefully we'll get back to 5 days a week within just a couple of weeks here. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from John Stockett. When you are ready.
Hi, this is actually Amy, but that's all right. I'm grateful for all the work that's been done to return kids to campus to some capacity. I also want to add that in all the board meetings and the SPAC committee meetings that I've been involved with, the 6 feet distance has been cited numerous times from getting more kids back at school. Now that this guidance has changed to 3 feet from our CDC and California health guidance, I hope we will move quickly to implement the changes. And I'm grateful that I saw in a discussion today during Mr. Kern's presentation. As a teacher, this is just kind of a question because I was a teacher and I'm a substitute teacher. I was working in a neighboring district a few months ago, and in middle school and high school level, they're allowed to Zoom at the same time. So I would be in-person learning as well as taking questions and things from those kids on Zoom at the same time. And I'm wondering why this wasn't, I don't know if it wasn't brought up in discussion, but I've heard some of the teachers in the district were wondering why that couldn't have happened so they could teach live to both. One of my kids' teachers is doing this kind of the other way around because they're not able to be back in class. And so they are teaching from home to the kids. And so I feel like this could work even if the teacher's in the classroom and teaching to other students around. Again, I understand that this takes time to figure out, and I also know that this could be done. So I would appreciate if you please push forward, and it sounds like we are, in getting things, getting kids back for more time this year, and not just saying we'll do it in the fall of 2021, because I have a senior and it would be great to get a little bit more time on campus. Thanks for your consideration. And I really want to give a shout out to getting sports back, because that has lifted my kids tremendously, and even me getting to coach right now. And hopefully soon, in the next few weeks, I can take my volleyball kids indoors and participate in some games. So thank you for your hard work. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for your comment. And President Villescaz, that was our last raised hand. Our other raised hand was lowered. So that concludes our public comment.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Allen. We do not need to return to closed session, so we are adjourned.
Thank you for joining us tonight. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education is set for April 13th. We do expect to be on Zoom as well as YouTube, so we hope you will join us again. And thank you for being with us tonight.